I glanced at my fruit knife sitting 2 steps away, still bloody from cutting up dinner. But with a floating ball of nightmare fuel hovering in my tree-hole home, I figured my ceramic mug was the safer bet. At least I was already holding it. This thing, imagine someone took pure darkness, rolled it into a head-sized ball, and then gave it the vibe of something that definitely wants to eat your soul. Black fog oozing everywhere like the world's worst lava lamp. No eyes, no mouth, no nothing. Just vibes. Bad vibes. Look, I've been in this fantasy world for almost a month now. I've seen armored soldiers speaking gibberish languages. I've been basically homeless inside a tree, and I once followed a giant white wolf around like a hyena eating its leftovers. My standards for normal are already in the basement. But this thing dug through the basement floor. I gripped my mug tighter. No point trying to talk. I can't even communicate with the humans here, let alone whatever eldritch horror just floated into my living room uninvited. Then it stuck tentacles into the ground and started drawing. My survival instincts kicked in before my brain did. I lunged forward, mug raised high like some kind of ceramic warrior, and then noticed the tentacles were scribbling something on the dirt. Too late to stop. 2 tentacles grabbed my wrist, flicked it like I was a misbehaving child, and my mug went flying. The black fog retreated to a safe distance. Message received. This thing could absolutely destroy me if it wanted to. I looked down at what it drew. A pair of lips. An arrow. The arrow pointed at my roasted squirrel on the fire. Are you kidding me? This interdimensional horror broke into my house. Because it smelled my dinner? I held up the squirrel. You want to eat? No response. Right. Language barrier. I grabbed a stick and drew my own arrow pointing the squirrel toward the lips drawing. What happened next broke my brain. The fog picked up my dropped mug, handed it back to me, then picked up my knife, blade facing itself, and handed that over too, like some kind of terrifying gentleman returning my weapons before dinner. My guard dropped by about 50%. Then it took the squirrel, skewered it on a stick, and put it back on the fire to cook more. This cosmic nightmare entity prefers well-done meat. I expected it to just absorb the squirrel into the void like a food-themed black hole. Instead, it's sitting there rotating the meat with its tentacles like a weekend barbecue dad. I caught my second squirrel and started prepping it. A tentacle reached over to grab it. I pointed at the first squirrel. That one's yours. Then I hugged mine close. This one's mine. The tentacle snatched it anyway. I watched this fog monster roast both my squirrels with its tentacles while I sat there eating pine nuts like a peasant watching a chef cook my own food. This is my life now. Then it pushed the first finished squirrel toward me, drew an arrow on the ground, pointing at me. I took it and bit in without a second thought, thanking the creature profusely. Completely forgot both squirrels were mine to begin with. Stockholm Syndrome speedrun. When it ate the second one, the meat just vanished into the fog. No chewing, no mouth, just gone. Like a magic trick nobody asked for. Phew. Finally don't have to eat raw meat. A voice. In my head. A girl's voice. In a language I actually understood. I stared at the fog ball. The fog ball stared back. We both realized something weird just happened. Before I could process this, tentacles slammed me to the ground, and the fog sphere pressed right up to my nose. You can hear me talking, right? Right? The voice was now 2 speakers at maximum volume inside my skull. She was repeating it over and over like a broken record on full blast. I screamed, "Shut up," but apparently she doesn't understand my language, only my thoughts, and my thoughts were mostly just pain. I blacked out, not from some cool magical sanity drain. I got knocked unconscious by sheer volume. My first magical encounter in another world, and I fainted because someone was too loud. Woke up the next morning. Snow on the ground now. Great. Survival difficulty just went up a notch. The fog ball was still there. She started floating toward me, and I threw my hands up immediately. No repeat mode. And no yelling. Turns out her name is Lulutis. A mage. She communicates through mental magic, which is why I can understand her even though we speak completely different languages. She has to concentrate really hard to receive my thoughts, though. So our conversation was basically running on dial-up internet. Her backstory. Chef's kiss of disaster. She was doing some magic experiment in her mansion. Things went sideways. Her magic ingredients went haywire, caused an explosion, which she casually said, "Wasn't that big of a deal." Wasn't that big of a deal? Lady, you look like a haunted bowling ball wrapped in smoke. Turns out the explosion triggered a chain reaction. Her stockpile of magic scrolls, ritual spells, and contract documents all activated simultaneously. One potion changed her body. Then a teleportation scroll yeeted her across the world, and a punishment contract sealed away her ability to communicate normally. She can't talk to people. They don't hear her. She can't write. The seal makes her hands write wrong things. She tried talking to monsters. They went berserk. She tried approaching a mage in the wild. He threw fireballs at her. If he'd been any good, she'd have been dissected as a specimen. What about your drawings? I asked. You think anyone's going to stand still and play Pictionary with something that looks like me? Fair point. I looked at her again. Yeah, no. If I saw that floating toward me in a forest, I'd run too. She exhausted herself explaining all this and basically passed out mid-conversation. Can't maintain the spell anymore. Need rest. Thanks for dinner. I sat there staring at her sleeping fog body, processing everything. First magical conversation in this world. And it was with a mage who accidentally turned herself into a Halloween decoration. I sealed up the tree hole entrance, peeked through the cracks 3 times to make sure nothing was outside, then finally laid down on my hay bed. You know what though? For the first time since I got dropped into this world, I wasn't alone. Sure, my roommate looks like concentrated evil, and she knocked me out on our first real conversation. But she needs me. I'm the only person who can hear her. Tonight, for the first time in a month, I actually slept well. Meanwhile, Lulutis, pretending to be asleep, floated up and examined my handmade door. Really not a single trace of magic energy. Is his magic from a different source entirely? Lady, I don't have magic. I have a ceramic mug and 2 stolen squirrels worth of dignity left. Woke up this morning and the first thing I saw was Lulutis floating there like a cursed screensaver. Cool. Great. Wonderful. My dreams last night were all tentacles. Just tentacles everywhere, chasing me, trying to wrap around me. I played hide and seek with them the entire night. Woke up and my brain was still full of tentacle imagery. Living with this fog ball is doing things to my subconscious that I'm choosing not to examine. Peeked outside. Snow stopped, not much accumulation. But that first snowfall hit me like a reality check slap to the face. Winter is coming, and I have basically nothing stored up. Time for inventory. Let's see what we're working with. 2 water bottles of pine nuts. 13 mystery fruits that I only know are safe because I watched animals eat them first and not die. 1 last squirrel from the family I robbed. That's it. That's the whole pantry. Are you worried about food? Lulutis connected her brain phone without warning. Yeah, and you ate one of my squirrels last night. So thanks for making the math worse. Are you hungry? I asked, immediately regretting this stupid question. Even in this body, I still need to eat. No kidding. I split half a bottle of pine nuts between us. Her share in a bowl, mine in a lunchbox. Democracy. This is all we can eat today. Food is tight. She looked at her portion and went quiet for a moment. Thank you. I won't eat for free. Tell me if you need help. Good. She has manners. I can work with manners. How much do you eat per day? She looked at my water bottle. Minimum 1 bottle of those per day. 1 whole bottle? Lady, that's half my entire pine nut fortune. Come with me when I go out. 2 mouths to feed now. We need all the luck we can get. I will say this. Watching her eat pine nuts was infuriating and impressive at the same time. A dozen tentacles each grabbed a nut, squeezed, shell popped off, nut goes in. Assembly line efficiency. She was eating them like popcorn at a movie theater. Turn off your brain phone. I can hear you chewing. I shoved my pine nuts at her. Not for eating, for peeling. You've got all those tentacles. Make yourself useful. She peeled them without complaint. Efficient worker, this fog ball. Pine nuts taste great, but fill you up about as much as eating air with extra steps. Lulutis was fine. Apparently her nightmare body inherited her old stomach size, so she doesn't need much. But I'm a grown man. This handful of nuts with hot water wasn't even a snack, let alone breakfast. Please let today be a good day. I prayed to whoever runs this world. And someone actually listened. We hadn't walked far from the tree hole when we found a dead wolf lying frozen solid on the ground, covered in wounds from some fight. Just lying there like a gift-wrapped care package from the universe. Free meat. Right there. No effort required. I almost cried. I checked my pit trap next, the one I'm most proud of. It's not fancy. Dig a big hole, fill the bottom with sharpened sticks, cover the top with branches. Simple, brutal, effective. Small animals that fall and basically become kebabs. Big monsters survive the fall, but bleed enough to attract. Well, the white wolf that used to live nearby. The wolf would kill whatever was bleeding, eat the good parts, and leave the scraps for me. Yeah, I was basically running a restaurant where the white wolf was both my business partner and customer, and I was the busboy eating leftovers. Career goals. Trap was empty today, though. Luck ran out. I turned around to ask Lulutis to float up and check some trees for squirrel holes. A tentacle suddenly wrapped around my waist and yanked me backward. Before I could even say, "What the?" a small mound of dirt next to my trap exploded open. A blob of translucent green jelly launched out of the ground. Like someone took a gummy bear, scaled it up, bent it into an arch shape, and gave it murder intent. A green glow started building at its front end. Before it could fire whatever nightmare beam it was charging, Lulutis struck. Her tentacles shot forward like spears and skewered the thing clean through. Like making a candy kebab. Pop, pop, pop. The blob deflated fast, green juice pouring out everywhere. Don't just stand there. You brought containers, right? Catch the juice. I scrambled for a bottle and held it under the puncture wounds. The thing felt ice cold and squishy, like poking a giant block of jello. Filled the whole bottle before the creature shriveled to half its size and plopped to the ground. What I asked this thing? A slime? Lulutis flicked her tentacles clean of goo. Oh, you know about slimes? A little. Forest slime. Normally they absorb sunlight and nutrients. But in winter they switch to hunting mode. If it had paralyzed you, it would have dissolved you with acid. Bones and all. You'd become slime food. I looked at the green roots I'd walked right past earlier. I noticed them, but I was in a rush to check my trap. Nearly got digested because I was impatient. Fantastic. The leftover body is edible. I'll take it back. Do you know how to cook slime? Do I what? How do you cook Jello monster? What cookbook covers this? Wait. Jelly texture. If you cook it down, would it get that soft, sticky, collagen-rich texture like a slow-braised pork knuckle? The second that image entered my brain, my mouth started watering so hard my eyes teared up. 1 month. It's been 1 month since I've had real food. I want fatty pork belly. I want candied pork knuckle with a massive bowl of rice. I want to eat until I physically cannot move. You sure this thing is edible? I asked, trying to stay rational. At imperial court banquets, I've had at least 3 main dishes and 4 desserts made from slime. Slimes convert energy into pure, magical elements. Every part of them is valuable. There are entire farms dedicated to raising them. You really didn't know this. How would I? Today's my first time seeing a living slime. So your world has never eaten slime? What kind of culinary wasteland doesn't even develop slime cuisine? Excuse me. We don't have slime dishes because we don't have slimes. That's not a cultural failure. That's a supply chain issue. She did not just call my world a food desert. I refuse to accept this from a sentient smoke ball. There's a reason I graduated college carrying a backpack full of spice bottles and seasonings. My school cafeteria served food so bad it would fail a sanity check. It forced me to learn cooking just to survive with functioning taste buds. You want me to cook a slime? Fine. Challenge accepted. I'll make this Jello monster delicious. We raided some tree holes after that, mugged several more squirrel families for their winter stash. Lulutis skewered the slime remains onto her tentacles and held it up over her head like a trophy. The 2 of us headed home loaded with loot. Before leaving, I touched up the camouflage on my trap, already dreaming about what it might catch next time. Today was a good day. Found a frozen wolf, survived a slime ambush, discovered that slime is apparently a delicacy, and got called a food desert by someone who looks like a haunted bowling ball. Progress. So how does boiled slime taste? Imagine biting into flavorless jello that somehow also tastes like dirt. Like someone made aspic but forgot every ingredient except sadness and soil. I took 2 or 3 bites and stopped. Partly because it wasn't great, partly because I need to ration everything. Lulutis was over there multitasking like a monster, skinning the frozen wolf with some tentacles while eating slime with another tentacle. This woman is an octopus-themed productivity guru. Not eating more. She misread my face as disappointment. Actually, you did a great job cooking it. No spices, barely any salt, tiny bit of oil. This is impressive for what you had. Sweet of her. But I wasn't fishing for compliments. I just don't want to eat dirt jello when there's wolf meat to look forward to. Luyu, let's talk. She finished her slime, stopped skinning, and her tentacles did this thing where they patted each other like someone dusting off their hands before a serious conversation. Very human gesture from a very non-human body. I already knew what was coming. I know we're not close yet. I know you're still wary of me. Your appearance isn't exactly earning you bonus points, I said honestly. She saved my life this morning. She knows it. I know she's going to use that momentum to push for a deeper conversation. Smart move, bad execution, because what came next proved this genius mage has the negotiation skills of a golden retriever. I want you to help me return to normal. I poked the fire and let the silence stretch. Half my face lit by flames, half in shadow. Very dramatic. Totally intentional. What do I get out of it? What do you want? She took a sip of slime juice. Apparently it's full of magic energy and helps her maintain the brain-phone connection. Good to know that stuff is useful for something besides tasting, like liquid disappointment. I shook my head and smiled. See, if you ask me to name my price, I might ask for something impossible. Like enough wealth to rival a nation. Can you do that? Her tentacles waved frantically. Nope. So maybe you should think about what you can offer for my help. And she just started thinking about it. Tentacles tangled together underneath her fog body like a nervous ball of yarn. This woman, this genius 17-year-old prodigy mage. She came to negotiate without preparing a single bargaining chip. She used her one leverage moment, saving my life, to open the conversation, then immediately handed me all the negotiating power by letting me set the terms. I am 100% certain that if this woman went grocery shopping, the vendor would sweet-talk her into paying triple and she'd leave thinking she got a deal. I'm sorry, I really can't think of what to give you. I can guarantee you the friendship of a 7th-rank mage. If you really want money, I can try to meet whatever amount you need. So sincere. So earnest. So absolutely terrible at bargaining. But wait, 7th-rank mage? That's new information. Sorry, I have no concept of what 7th rank means. Explain. Ranks are how mage strength is classified. First rank is beginner. The higher you go, the stronger and rarer mages become. Her voice got noticeably louder and prouder. The mental equivalent of puffing out your chest. How many 7th rank mages are there? Like I said, higher rank means fewer mages. How old are you? 17. Casual as anything. I don't know about other places, but in the Solon Empire, I'm the youngest 7th rank mage. I choked. 17. 7th rank. The youngest in the entire empire. Are the mages in this empire all monsters? But this confirmed everything I suspected. She's nobility. Has to be. I've been in survival mode since arriving, but my brain still works. The knights in steel armor, the adventurers with swords and staffs, the slaves being whipped along in chains. This world runs on feudalism. Magic is power, and power gets controlled. Resources, training channels, knowledge, all gatekept by whoever's in charge. No way a random peasant hits rank 7 at 17. 7th rank at 17? Sounds kind of cheap, I said, poking for more info. Hook, line, sinker. She got defensive immediately and launched into a whole explanation about how mages need talent, ability, connections, knowledge, resources. I cut her off. I had enough. This girl should really be thankful that the one person who can hear her voice is me and not some scammer. Someone with worse character would have her signing away her family estate by Tuesday. I knew exactly what to ask for now. A 7th rank mage's friendship is too vague, and money is useless without strength to protect it. I leaned back. How about you make me a mage? She's a 7th rank prodigy. If we're going to work together long-term to fix her situation, she'll be stuck with me anyway. Having her teach me magic during that time? Obviously the best deal. I get self-defense and a new career in this world. Plus, I'm already here in a fantasy world. Might as well go all in. I won't be greedy, I added with a grin. You don't have to make me 7th rank. 6th rank is fine. The voice in my head started trembling and breaking up, like a phone call dropping signal during a storm. She chugged more slime juice to stabilize the connection. Our private chat room runs on Lulutis' magic as the server, and this server has serious bandwidth issues. I'm sorry, I can't guarantee that. Mage Awakening has too many uncertainties. I've seen people from mage families who could never awaken no matter what. Any promise I made would be lying to you. I actually clapped. Slowly, with genuine admiration. Even the creepy fog looked kind of beautiful to me in that moment. See, I already knew about the awakening requirement. I'd tricked that information out of her earlier. If she'd just casually said, "Sure, I'll make you a mage," my guard would have shot right back up. But she didn't. She pointed out the risk. Told me straight up she couldn't promise something uncertain. Refused to lie to get my help. This girl is genuinely good. Okay, 2 conditions then. First, the mage thing. We'll figure that out after we leave this forest. If I can't awaken, that's fine. Second condition is simpler. Whether or not I become a mage, after you're back to normal, I want your protection. Worst case scenario, I want to freeload at your mansion. A family that produces a 17-year-old 7th rank mage can definitely afford to feed one extra mouth. She agreed almost immediately. I flopped onto my hay bed, hands behind my head, grinning like an idiot. Aren't you going to ask what restoring me involves? What if the journey is incredibly dangerous? I turned my head and flashed her my best smile. Why would I worry? Worst case, I die. Lulutis, do you know what my month here has been like? I showed up in this world understanding nothing. Went exploring to gather information. Saw a knight casually spear a homeless-looking guy to death. Behind the knights, a line of skinny, filthy people bound and whipped like slaves. That moment I understood, if I approached anyone, I'd either die or become a slave. And I will never be a slave. So I've been hiding in this tree hole. Every night, beasts howling from every direction. I sleep holding my knife. That knife is either for whatever breaks in, or for myself. That's been my reality. Fear and loneliness, every single day. And the worst part? No reason to keep going. I can't live as a tree hermit forever. Robinson Crusoe could play farmer on his island because his island didn't have monsters that could be sold as mystery boxes for 6 months without repeating. Lulutis showing up gave me something I haven't had since arriving, hope. Not just hope of leaving this forest, but hope of actually belonging in this world. She needs me to help her recover. I need her to show me the way. We need each other. Simple as that. Should we sign a contract? I joked. Do I look like I can do that right now? She snapped. Then let's shake on it. I held out my hand. We're partners for the long haul. A tentacle wrapped around my hand and shook gently. Why? Why is it so sticky? Lulutis, seriously, what kind of potion did you mess up to turn yourself into this? What were you even making? I have questions. So many questions. All of them uncomfortable. But hey, I have a partner now. A sticky, foggy, terrifyingly powerful, hilariously bad at negotiating partner. Things are finally starting to look up. Right. First order of business after our handshake deal, figure out communication. Here's the problem. To break Lulutis's seal, we need to go where people live and collect materials. But I can't speak the local language, and she literally can't speak to anyone except me. We're 2 mutes trying to save each other. Lulutis is stuck in the worst catch, 22 ever invented. Need to talk to break the seal. Need to break the seal to talk. The only person who can crack this loop? Me. The guy whose biggest qualification is owning a ceramic mug. I need language materials and basic knowledge about this world. Time to learn fantasy foreign languages. Hopefully 1 winter is enough to get me to conversational level. No pressure. Just the entire plan depending on my study skills. Lulutis waved the half-empty bottle of slime juice in front of me. If I have enough of this stuff to keep my mental magic stable, I can speed up your learning. I looked at the slime chunks I'd hung on the wall like the world's most disgusting jerky. And where exactly are we finding more slimes? She ignored my question and got weirdly excited about something else entirely. That thing you used. The fire. Fire something. Lighter. Yes. Can I see it? I handed it over. I'd noticed her acting strange when I lit the campfire earlier, zooming around me, circling like a hyperactive satellite. Thought she was interested in my slime cooking. Nope. She wanted the lighter this whole time. Her tentacles wrapped around it, and black fog engulfed the thing completely. If you don't want to help me do friction fire every morning, I suggest you don't eat my lighter. That lighter wasn't even mine originally. My college roommate, the dorm leader, slapped it into my hand on our last day. Hey Base, that was my nickname. Maybe you'll start smoking someday, fat chance. Living in a dorm with 4 chain smokers meant my room was permanently fogged up like some kind of discount fairyland. After breathing that for 4 years, I'd rather chew gravel than touch a cigarette. I almost told him that. But looking at the empty dorm room, everyone already gone, I just quietly pocketed the lighter. Never imagined it had become my most valuable survival tool in another dimension. Strange. Why does this magic tool have 0 magical energy? Lulutis emerged from her fog cloud, holding the tiny lighter and two tentacles like a confused scientist examining an alien artifact. Here we go again. Because it's not a magic tool. It's just a regular lighter. What did you think it was? But I saw you just lightly press it. And where's the mechanism? I can't find it. I snatched it back, flipped the cap, and clicked. Flame popped up. She froze. See? Not magic. This is, I almost said, science. Caught myself just in time. Last time we went down the magic versus science rabbit hole, I nearly had a stroke. Some doors are better left closed. Anyway, not magic. Lulutis loved the lighter. She couldn't figure out how it worked. No fire salamander phosphorus powder inside? No eternal match? What is this sorcery that isn't sorcery? Can we get back on topic? You asked for the lighter just to play with it? No. I wanted to use it to explain something. Some mages carry magical tools with energy cores inside. These cores store magical elements we can extract and use. Lulutis, my dear, we can't even talk to people. You think we're going to waltz up to a mage and have a friendly chat about borrowing their stuff? I'm not planning to approach any mages, she corrected me. Also, I'm not a deer or a lady. You mentioned seeing cavalry with slaves. That proves this area isn't completely uninhabited. Where there's activity, there are adventurers. And not every adventurer who enters these woods comes back out alive. It clicked. She wanted to loot dead adventurers. And actually, I remembered something. I did see a group of weirdly dressed people fighting each other a while back. The light show was insane, like a rave in the forest. Lulutis went absolutely feral with excitement. Tentacles wrapped around my waist, ready to drag me out the door right then. It's nighttime. We'll get lost and eaten. Calm down. Next morning, I led her to where I remembered the mage fight happening. Half a month had passed, so no bodies remained. But scattered equipment was still buried under snow. I walked behind Lulutis holding a knight's sword I'd pulled from a tree. Yes, from a tree, someone got yeeted hard enough to embed their sword in the trunk, using it as a combination weapon and snow shovel. Lulutis kept one tentacle permanently wrapped around my waist like a safety leash. Can't blame her. I'm her only translator. If I die, she's back to screaming into the void while mages throw fireballs at her face. My foot hit something hard under the snow. Same time, one of her tentacles found something too. I started digging with my sword about 4 steps away from her. She glanced at me, looked at the distance between us, paused. Then her tentacle grabbed me around the waist and lifted me into the air, carrying me over to her side like a crane moving cargo. I experienced being held up like a baby. Did not enjoy it. Did not consent. I found something too. Why'd you yank me over? Your combat power is too low. Worried about you. She said this while casually uncovering a beautiful green staff that looked like it was made from jade bamboo. Put it in your backpack. I examined it. Definitely a mage's staff. My first piece of magical equipment. I wondered if mages need these to cast spells, and if so, whether there's a spell specifically designed to disarm people. That'd be hilariously annoying. Back at my earlier spot, Lulutis dug up a book with metallic-looking pages. Lucky. This works too. I opened it and saw this world's writing for the first time. Imagine someone took Egyptian hieroglyphs, mixed them with cuneiform, then had a drunk toddler add squiggly tadpole shapes everywhere. Like if ancient Chinese oracle bone script had a baby with Sumerian clay tablets and nobody taught that baby penmanship. I was illiterate again. 20-something years of education, reduced to 0 in one-page flip. We also found a heavy cloth bag full of copper coins. Nice. We have money now. No idea what it buys, but it jingles satisfyingly. We left fast after that, because scattered across the snow we kept finding bones. Perfectly clean, white bones. Some snapped in half, all of them looking like they'd been licked spotless. Given the timeline since the fight, natural decay absolutely could not have done this. Something ate these people and picked the bones clean like chicken wings at a buffet. I stopped multiple times on the way back, making Lulutis triple check nothing was following us. Only then did I feel safe enough to return to the tree hole. Back home, Lulutis started inventory on our loot while I set up early warning systems, breaking twigs, placing them around our tree in every direction, covering them with snow. Step on one and snap. Instant alarm. Some monsters hibernate with full bellies. Others are hungry enough to hunt in the freezing cold. Lulutis is tough, but careful never killed anyone. When I crawled back inside, the tree hole looked like a nightclub. multicolored lights dancing everywhere, flashing off the walls. If I hadn't seen Lulutis's fog body floating right there, I'd have thought I got teleported again, straight into a disco. She'd cracked open all the magical items we collected. Pieces scattered everywhere, but glowing cores were neatly lined up in the wall niches I'd carved. The lights dimmed once she moved away from them, like she was the battery. These should last a while. I hope you're a fast learner. Don't worry about my learning speed. What else am I going to do? I literally have nothing else going on. No distractions means maximum efficiency. I dumped out the copper coins to count them, and a folded piece of cloth fell out, covered in dense writing. Couldn't read a word of it. Lulutis took it, stared for a long moment, and sighed. It's a will. Most adventurers carry one. If they die in the wilderness, they hope whoever finds their belongings might do something for them. The tree hole went quiet for a moment. Somewhere under all that clean white snow, someone had come out here with hopes of going home, and all that's left is a bag of coins, a note nobody around can read, and bones licked clean. I folded the cloth carefully and put it back with the coins. Better learn this language fast. I have a letter to read. The dead adventurer's name was Naka. She left behind 175 copper coins and 6 silver coins. Her will asked whoever found it to deliver the money to her brother living in the capital of the Yas dynasty. On the back, she wrote that as thanks, the finder could keep 3 silver coins. You might think it's absurd, Lulutis said, but some adventurers really do honor these unsigned, unwitnessed promises. When your job involves fighting death every day, you start thinking about what happens to your stuff when you lose. On your last breath, you'd want your hard-earned money to reach your family too. Of course, plenty of people just pocket it all. Money is. Yeah, I heard sadness in her voice. Couldn't tell if she was feeling for Naka specifically or if the word, money, triggered something personal. I looked at Lulutis, smiled, and pulled out exactly 3 silver coins. Put the rest back in the bag. Her tentacles perked up. She approved. Then she snatched up the crystal core she'd extracted from the staff and got down to business. Ready to learn? Fair warning, this might hurt a bit. I laughed. Hurt? Has she met chemistry class? Balancing equations, wrong symbols, wrong units, confusing elements. That was pain. Whatever brain magic teaching she's got planned can't possibly be worse than my high school chemistry teacher circling my work in red ink. I stuffed a handful of pine nuts in my mouth, washed them down with warm water, and thumped my chest. Bring it on, Professor Fogball. She's only 17 with 0 teaching experience, sure. But anyone who becomes a 7th-rank mage has to be godly at organizing and absorbing information. That's not a skill you can fake. And she's teaching her own native language, the one thing she uses every single day. One tentacle held the crystal core. Another touched my forehead. Connection opened. Immediately, I noticed the difference. Before, her mental chatroom was like a phone call in a tunnel. Echoes, static, dropped words. Now, crystal clear. HD audio. 0 lag. The crystal core was like upgrading from dial-up to fiber optic. Made me wonder, what would this chatroom feel like if Lulutis was at full power? Surround sound? IMAX. Then my brain went numb. Dizziness hit. The bridge between our minds started carrying traffic. Characters appeared in my head. Lulutis carefully repeated each pronunciation. Class was in session. I grabbed a stick and wrote every single character in the dirt as she taught them. Good memory means nothing without practice. The hand has to learn too. If I can hear and speak but can't read, I'm still illiterate. Just a talking illiterate, which is barely an upgrade. Then something happened. When I got to the word for good, my hand moved on autopilot and wrote the Chinese character instead. Hawk just appeared on the ground. Muscle memory from another life. Lulutis paused, then figured out it was writing from my world. I stared at that character for a moment. One simple word sitting in the dirt of an alien world. Want to learn my language too? Her fog body practically vibrated with excitement. Teaching me already drained her magic and energy. Adding my language on top would make the burden way heavier. But she couldn't resist. One look at Chinese characters, and the scholar in her took over. She recognized immediately that this was a dead language, something nobody in this world could read or decode through normal means. Perfect for secret conversations, encrypted messages, private notes. Her thirst for knowledge won over her common sense. Classic nerd behavior. I respect it enormously. So we built a system. She taught me one character. I wrote it in her script, and in Chinese on the ground, saying both out loud. She poked her tentacles into the dirt, copying my square, boxy characters like a kindergartner learning to write. Sometimes I'd hear her quietly mumbling Chinese words in the most hilariously wrong accent while transmitting her own language to me. Something in my chest unclenched. That heavy, suffocating feeling I'd been carrying around just lifted. Here I was, sitting in a tree hole with a tentacle monster, both of us dead serious about learning each other's language. Absurd? Completely. But it felt right. Before this, every day was just survival. No purpose. Walking dead. Now I had a goal. Learn everything she teaches me. Leave this forest and actually see this world. I refuse to quietly disappear in some forgotten corner of nowhere. I want to leave my mark on this world. We studied until our brains were fried. Lulutis had it way worse, maintaining mental magic, teaching me, and memorizing Chinese simultaneously. I told her we could postpone her lessons until she recovered, but she flat out refused. Whether it was the dual learning format or some magical side effect of her mental bridge, when I woke up the next day and reviewed everything, I hadn't forgotten a single thing. Not one character, not one pronunciation. After lunch, we both said the same thing at the same time. Let's study until dark. Turns out learning is actually enjoyable when you have a study buddy and you're both grinding toward the same goal. The momentum built on itself. Efficiency went through the roof. 2 weeks flew by. The first crystal core was completely drained, dead, dark, no more pretty lights. Our food situation got terrifying again. The slime and wolf meat were down to 1 piece each. Pine nuts and random fruits from squirrel raids were all we had. Language skills skyrocketing. Food supplies nosediving. Classic trade-off. I practiced speaking in my terrible accent. If these magic, herb harvests could be traded for food, that would be nice. I committed to using the local language whenever I could remember the words. Learn all you want, but if you don't practice speaking, it's useless. Lulutis had been finding decent magical herbs in the wilderness. Her mage knowledge was good for something besides conversation. She even mentioned that with proper equipment, she could brew a potion to stabilize her mental magic further. Both of us taking it could boost our study efficiency even more. My trap? Completely empty. Nothing moving in this cold. Not a single living creature near the tree hole. The forest was a frozen ghost town. Thank God I had a blanket from when I crossed over. It was graduation season when I got transported. My packed up belongings included bedding. Without that blanket, these freezing nights would have been genuine torture. Lulutis handled the cold differently. Every night before the campfire died, she'd stick her tentacles into the flames and absorb heat energy. Like charging a battery. Weird but effective. She also discovered my terrible secret. I kick my blanket off in my sleep. Worse, sometimes I ball it up and hug it like a body pillow, leaving myself completely exposed to the cold. So she started floating over me after I fell asleep, using her tentacles as a blanket cover. Not because she's being sweet or anything. She'd found cold medicine herbs, sure, but if I caught a cold now, it'd wreck our study schedule. Purely practical. Definitely not caring about me. Obviously. Skipping language class today, I said in Chinese. Finding food comes first. No objections. Lulutis understood perfectly and responded, in Chinese, best if, one breath find 1 month food, so won't mess up our schedule. Her pronunciation was stiff, but shockingly close to correct. Half a month, and she's nearly nailing tones that take foreigners years to learn. 17-year-old 7th rank mage indeed. The talent gap between humans is truly humbling. We've become a well-oiled machine by now. I cook, she handles chores. Clear division, zero friction. 2 people who made a deal in desperation and somehow ended up genuinely satisfied with each other. I flipped the soup pot upside down over the campfire to kill it, checked for sparks. Then we sealed the tree hole entrance with our board. Then I knelt down and started packing snow onto the board. Lulutis didn't ask why, just immediately started helping with her tentacles. When we finished, the entrance was invisible. Just another patch of white blending into the snowy landscape. We might be out all day. Better to be extra careful. Would be pretty embarrassing to come home loaded with food and find out our house got eaten by something while we were gone. Snow landing on my face like tiny frozen kisses from a world that's trying to kill me. Looked up. White fluff falling so thick I couldn't see the sky. This blizzard was going to cut our foraging time short, and I was not happy about it. Lulutis had her safety tentacle around my waist as usual while I trudged through snow that had already swallowed my shins. Every step was a gamble. Who knows what's under there? Let me carry you with my tentacles. The snow is too deep. I wanted to refuse. I'm a grown man. I have dignity. Nobody's watching. It's not embarrassing. Fine. 8 tentacles wrapped around my waist and thighs, and up I went, hoisted above her head like a human trophy. On the bright side, the height gave me a perfect lookout position. On the other side, if anyone saw a ball of black fog carrying a man overhead with tentacles, they'd have questions. Questions I could never answer satisfactorily. With me out of the way, Lulutis could finally use her full hovering speed instead of crawling at my pathetic human pace. Northwest. Something weird on the ground, I reported from my perch. Big lump under the snow. Could be another slime, honestly. I was hoping for slime. Over the past 2 weeks, I'd become the world's foremost slime chef out of pure desperation. Garlic slime sauté, found some wild garlic, made it work. Slime medicinal stew, used mild herbs as seasoning. Tasted like health. Slime mash, treated it like mashed potatoes. Looked disgusting. Edible though. This is what happens when a foodie gets stranded in a fantasy world. You don't give up. You innovate. I'd basically reached the point where slime tasted like a weird cousin of fish mint root. Acquired taste? More like Stockholm Syndrome for my tongue. Lulutis floated closer and scanned the lump. No life signs. It's dead. We approached carefully and found a cow. A whole cow with its belly ripped open, guts completely eaten out. And about 15 meters away, another cow. Same exact injuries. Something about the bite pattern felt familiar, but I couldn't place it. Lulutis scouted ahead while I waited, then came back confused. 4 dead cows total. Every single one only had their bellies eaten. Everything else is untouched. I poked the cow with my knife. Still had some give to it, not frozen solid yet. Fresh kill. Lulutis, do farmers here use livestock? Of course. Nobles use tamed magical beasts, but common people still rely on oxen and horses. I stared at the worn groove around this old cow's neck from years of pulling a plow. The hole punched through its nose for a lead rope. This was someone's work animal. In the middle of a frozen forest. In a blizzard. Lulutis connected the dots a second after me. This weather, this location, why would farm cattle be here? Something was very wrong with this picture. But that's a mystery for later. Right now I had 4 cows worth of free beef sitting in front of me and winter knocking on my door. I whipped out the knight's sword and wiped the snow off. Stop thinking so hard. Let's butcher this thing and get it home fast. The longer we stay, the worse our odds. Lulutis jammed her tentacles into the cow and started ripping. I followed up with the sword, hacking at the frozen parts with full-arm swings like I was chopping wood. Thank God for my exercise habits. A normal person would have collapsed from exhaustion halfway through. My arms turned to jelly. The sword got heavier with every swing. But we got the entire cow broken down into portable chunks. Take the head and legs back first, I told her. She was grabbing the back meat. She stopped. The head. Why was she saying it like that? Yeah, the head. We stared at each other in the blowing snow. Even without seeing her face, I could feel the discomfort radiating off her fog body. You eat cow heads? You don't. We generally don't eat heads. What about organs? Her voice went stiff. Organs are typically used as potion ingredients. Very few people actually eat them. Translation, they think it's gross. I almost went on a rant about wasted potential. Braised beef tongue, tripe stew, liver and onions. But then I caught myself. Someone who casually says, very few people eat organs, probably hasn't spent much time watching how poor people survive. When you're hungry, everything is food. There's no gross. There's only edible and not edible. I wasn't going to lecture her, though. In all our conversations, she'd never once looked down on common people. She just genuinely didn't know. Different upbringing, different world. Small issue. I know how to make it delicious. Let me cook it for you, and you'll see. Her tentacles released the cow head like it was contaminated. It rolled into the snow with a thud. Wow, that much resistance? I decided to drop it and respect her feelings. Started walking toward her to change the subject. Everything went sideways. Lulutis threw all the meat to the ground and launched at me. Tentacles grabbed me, yanked me into the air. I opened my eyes. When did I close them? And scanned everywhere. Nothing. What did she sense? What's coming? Where? Corner of my eye. Something moved. I snapped my head around, and my blood went icy cold. Optical camouflage. Are you kidding me? The entire world was white. Snow on the ground, snow in the air, snow on every surface. And standing right there, perfectly blended into all that white, was the wolf. My wolf. The giant white wolf I used to follow around like a scavenger dog. 1 person tall, blue eyes, absolutely terrifying. If it hadn't shifted its weight, I never would have spotted it. It was invisible against the snow. Nature's own stealth technology. Those blue eyes locked onto us as it walked, slowly, deliberately, to our pile of butchered beef. Sniffed it, looked up at us, bared its fangs and huffed. The message was clear. You're stealing my food, you little thieves. Fair enough. Those cows were probably its kills. The belly-only eating pattern. That's why it looked familiar. This wolf always eats the stomach area and abandons the rest. I used to scavenge its leftovers. Lulutis, I think that's the same wolf from before. Before, it ignored you taking scraps because it was already full. Today, it does not look full. We touched its food. It's angry. Can you take it? Uncertain. A wolf this size is a forest apex predator. Regular monsters are snacks to it. The Adventurer Guild would rate it at minimum steel rank. That's tier 3. The wolf slammed one paw down on the giant cow head and let out a howl that rattled my skeleton. Its claws punched through the frozen skull like it was paper. If that paw hit a person. Wait. I wiped my eyes and squinted harder. Asked Lulutis to lift me slightly higher. Got a better look this time. There are wounds on its front paw. Multiple cuts. Blood drops on the ground where it's standing. Fresh, dotted pattern. Not from hunting the cows. The earlier snowfall covered the old blood. That blood is its own, have you noticed? Since it appeared, it's only shown us one side of its body. Never turned. Never faced us straight on. I didn't need to guess anymore. Lulutis's sharp nose caught the blood scent carried by the wind. The wolf started panting heavily. Still baring teeth at us. Still trying to look menacing. But its face was twisting with pain it couldn't hide anymore. Everything clicked. This wolf was badly hurt. All the real damage was on the side it wouldn't show us. It stumbled out here to bluff us, walking tall, snarling, acting like the apex predator it usually is, hoping we'd just panic and run away. But we couldn't run either. Running from a predator triggers the chase instinct. That's survival 101. So there we were. A critically injured wolf pretending to be scary. A fog ball and a guy dangling from tentacles pretending to be scared enough to stay frozen, but not scared enough to flee. Everyone performing. Nobody buying it. The wolf's act was falling apart. The wolf's breathing got worse. Faster. Heavier. Its tough guy face suddenly twisted with pain it couldn't fake away anymore. It stumbled backward, stepped right on one of our butchered meat chunks, lost its balance, and crashed into the snow. When the powder settled, the wolf was lying on its side, mouth open, game over. And now we could finally see what it had been hiding. It was bad. Burns running from its hind leg to its belly, charred skin and flesh just hanging there, rising and falling with every labored breath. A chunk of meat was missing from its hind leg, bone completely exposed. Something, weapon, tool, magic, had just scooped it right out. And this absolute legend had been walking around pretending everything was fine? With that damage? Slash wounds covered its front half. Multiple. Deep. Whoever did this got very close, which means they also got very acquainted with those claws. I doubted the attackers walked away looking much better. Most wounds had frozen shut, but the big ones across its chest were still dripping. The wolf coughed violently and spat out a metal shard. A piece of steel armor with a piece of cloth still stuck to it. The cloth had some kind of falcon emblem. That looks like a piece of standard-issue steel armor, Lulutis said. And that pattern, it's a family crest. This was a winter hunt. A what? When heavy snow forces most beasts into hibernation, nobles organize hunting parties. They drive livestock into target areas as bait. Once predators eat and get sluggish, the nobles attack. If they win, they brag about how their lord single-handedly slew a fearsome beast, the really scheming. One spread rumors about monster attacks beforehand, then used the hunt to play hero and win public support. I whipped my head around, scanning every direction. Are you serious right now? There are nobles with soldiers nearby? My language module is still loading. I'm at maybe 40% fluency. And Lulutis looks like the final boss of a horror game. Anyone who sees her is attacking on sight. Lulutis clearly had the same thought. She grabbed me and bolted. But after a short distance, I told her to go back. Back? Yes. Back. If we run into a group, I can't fight them all. I don't think we'll run into a group. That wolf is badly hurt, but it's still massive and powerful. It couldn't have run far in that condition, meaning the battle happened close to those dead cows. Close distance, severe injuries to the wolf, and yet nobody pursued it? Nobody came to finish it off? Lulutis followed my logic, and her fog body went rigid. They're all dead, or too wounded to move. Think about it differently. If you were setting a trap with bait animals, would you position yourself far away from the bait? This is just a guess. What if, Lulutis? Our food is almost gone. The weather's only getting worse. Snow will bury everything and make foraging impossible. But food isn't even the biggest problem. If anyone from that hunting party survived and recovers, they'll come back with reinforcements to search this area. We left footprints, cut marks, and drag trails all over that cow scene. Anyone with half a brain will notice and track us. She turned around. I love that about her. She argues. I explain. She gets convinced. Clean. Efficient. No ego. The wolf was dying when we got back. It had stopped struggling. Just lying there, eyes open, staring at the sky. When it saw us return, it gave one look and closed its eyes. Acceptance. We can treat your injuries, Lulutis told it through mental magic. The wolf's eyes snapped open. Then it looked at me with deep confusion. Right. It heard a girl's voice coming from a boy's mouth. Perfectly reasonable reaction. Don't look at him. I'm the one talking. The black fog. Lulutis's connection was shaky. Even critically wounded, this wolf's willpower was fighting off her mental intrusion. Only because it was this weak did she have any chance at communication at all. The human next to me is Luyu. You've seen him before. He's grateful that you let him take your hunting scraps. Whether you did it out of generosity, contempt, or just not caring. He survived because of it, so lower your guard. I'll bring medicine. Basic treatment. Whether you pull through after that is on you. If you agree, stick out your tongue. No hesitation. Tongue out. Lulutis zipped back to our tree hole and returned with herbs, grinding them up with her tentacles right in front of the wolf. Smart. Showing the patient exactly what's going into the medicine. A few pills later, the wolf's pained expression softened slightly. I knew the medicine couldn't possibly work that fast. Pure placebo effect. Even apex predators have psychology. I gave Lulutis a look. The people who attacked you, are any still alive? Tongue for yes, tail wag for no. The tail swished. Lulutis looked at me for instructions. Get a location. We need to see for ourselves. Dead or alive, I need visual confirmation. I don't take chances with this stuff. Even one survivor could bring an army of problems to our doorstep. Before we left, I stopped Lulutis. If something unexpected comes up, I need you to trust my decision. She paused, then smiled. Have I ever disagreed with you? I didn't answer that. We followed the trail of dead cows over a small hill and found an open clearing, one of the few flat areas in this whole forest. Everything around us was pure white snow. This place was pure red. Blood sprayed up the bare trees. Because of the freezing temperature, the blood had frozen mid-drip along the icicles, suspended in time. The ground looked like someone had taken a giant calligraphy brush soaked in red ink and gone absolutely wild. The smell hit different from the small animals I'd hunted. This was human blood. Sharp. Metallic. Made my stomach flip. Lulutis's mental connection cut out. Her fog stopped moving, tentacles frozen in midair. Like she'd been flash frozen. I didn't blame her. The wolf had fought roughly 10 people. What was left of them told the story. 2 bodies under a tree, their chest armor caved inward from a direct paw strike. The armor actually held. No cutting damage, which meant their blacksmith did good work. They should thank him. The armor was the only reason they were still in one piece. The others weren't so lucky. Body parts scattered across the clearing. Blood and flesh stuck to the snow like someone had tried to make the world's most disturbing abstract painting. My stomach was not okay. Most people would react this way to their first real battlefield. Before I crossed over, I was just a regular college graduate. I'm not some battle-hardened soldier. The only reason I kept walking through this horror show was because my life depended on being thorough. Lulutis. Check for survivors. My voice came out cold. Hard. I needed it to be. Oh, okay. First time she'd heard that tone from me. She scrambled to comply. While she searched, I found supply bags near 5 cows that had died as collateral damage in the fight. Open 1. Rice. Different from what I was used to, but unmistakably rice. Another bag. Some kind of frozen flatbread. Like naan or a Chinese baked cake. Rice. Bread. Real food. Real human food. My stone-cold battlefield face cracked into a grin so wide I momentarily forgot I was standing in a lake of blood. Priorities? What priorities? Luyu. I snapped back to reality and ran over. Lulutis had pulled 2 survivors from the snow. A red-haired middle-aged man in fancy armor with glowing blue runes, enchanted gear. One leg was ripped clean off, shaking from pain and cold. A sandy-haired person in regular armor. No visible wounds, but barely breathing. Internal injuries. Red Hair saw me and grabbed my hand like a drowning man clutching a rope. Words poured out of him at machine gun speed. I caught maybe every 5th word. He says he's the eldest son of Count Nord from the Yas Kingdom. If we save him, he'll reward us generously. No wonder he has silver armor enchanted by at least a 4th-rank mage. Noble brats really do live well. Lulutis was openly contemptuous. A gust of wind threw snow into my eyes. I took a deep breath. Lulutis. Tie his hands and feet. I reached into my backpack and pulled out the small knife that had been with me since day 1. The knife that had cut up every meal I'd eaten in this world. Lulutis sensed what was coming. Remember what I said before we left? If something unexpected comes up, I follow your lead. Her voice was quiet. The Count's son saw the knife. Saw my face. His eyes went wide with terror, and he started dragging himself backward, trying to escape. I looked down at him. He's the unexpected. He says there are hidden sentries nearby, and a support team not far away. Touch him, and we're dead. Lulutis translated. I watched this Count's eldest son drag himself through the snow on one leg, leaving a red trail behind him. His hands seized up from the cold after a few meters, getting slower and slower. Really? I don't believe him. I'd already checked the supply bags. Enough food for maybe half a month. They even brought seasoning. These guys packed spices for their little hunting vacation. This was a small expedition team, not an army. The terrain here is too rough for wagons, so the cows doubled as pack animals. With this group size, there's no dedicated support squad. Maybe 1 or 2 lookouts posted at the forest edge, tops. If lookouts existed, they would have come running when the fight started. If they were cowards, they still would have crept in after the wolf left to check on everyone. I saw no footprints, no tracks, no sign of anyone else. I didn't want to do this, but I couldn't afford the risk. From the moment we found the wolf, my options shrank to almost nothing. I couldn't confirm whether anyone from this hunting party had tracking magic. I couldn't guarantee they wouldn't come searching. Noble winter hunts are just PR stunts. The polite version is heroic beast slaying for the people's safety. The honest version is rich guys playing dangerous games for bragging rights. If a random nobody stumbles onto their stage performance out here in the middle of nowhere. Lulutis had taught me enough about this world's nobility. Don't bet on their curiosity being mild. Don't bet on their conscience being active. All I could do was confirm the wolf's body count. Best case, everyone already dead. No witnesses, no problems. Worst case happened. 2 people still breathing. Even without us, they'd probably freeze to death. But probably isn't definitely, and I can't build my survival on probably. A black shadow flickered across my vision. Before I could blink, Lulutis's tentacle had locked around the Count's son's remaining leg. I'll do it. I stared at her. A sharpened tentacle punched through his throat. He grabbed at his neck, thrashing, but it was already over. You forgot, she said, turning to face me. I'm a 7th-rank mage. You called me a sheltered greenhouse flower. Fine, I accept that. But a mage without real combat experience doesn't reach 7th rank. Have you killed before? I asked. No, but I helped a Friday. She stopped. Corrected herself. A princess. I helped a princess suppress a rebellion. So we're both first-timers. I knelt beside the sandy-haired man. He was barely breathing. Internal injuries, nothing I could fix. My knife found his heart. Quick, clean, ended his suffering. You said they were the unexpected situation. You also said that on the road ahead, sudden decisions and small details, I should trust your judgment. I won't drag you down. I won't question my partner's calls. I closed the sandy-haired man's eyes. Looked at the Count's son in the distance, finally still. Let out a long breath. My head was a mess for a moment. A month of desperate survival flashed through my mind. Sleeping with a knife, eating wolf scraps, hiding from everything that moved. Then the noise cleared. If I can't adapt to this world's rules, if I can't make hard choices fast, the trouble ahead will only multiply. Be decisive. No looking back. You'll make a good teammate, I told her. You too. No need to deal with the bodies. Lulutis could already sense monsters and beasts converging on this area. The blood smell was ringing a dinner bell across the whole forest. This clearing was about to become an all-you-can-eat buffet. We needed to grab what we could and go. We loaded up the rice sacks and ran. The hard flatbread we left behind, too heavy, and monsters probably wouldn't eat something that bland. Maybe we could come back for it later. The wolf was doing better when we passed by. Lulutis's herbal pills had given it enough strength to shift from lying on its side to a proper crouch. Progress. When it saw us sprinting toward it carrying a mountain of stuff, it panicked and forced itself to stand on shaky legs. Move it. The party guests are multiplying, Lulutis warned. The wolf glanced back toward where we'd come from. Howling and snarling echoed through the trees. The feeding frenzy had begun. It watched us leave, memorized our scent, then dragged its broken body into a run going the opposite direction. Halfway home, Lulutis dropped her bags on the ground. I thought she was exhausted. I was gasping for air myself, so I ran over to help carry the rice. Leave it for now. I'm going back for the cow. She wanted the beef too. Of course she did. We ate slime for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Our mouths permanently tasted like grass and dirt. The only break was occasional wolf meat. If I never see another slime dish again, it'll be too soon. A whole cow sitting out there? Neither of us was leaving that behind. Back in the tree hole, I dove straight for the spice bags. Oh, my God. These noble brats really knew how to live. Salt, sugar, pepper, chili powder, oil, soy sauce, the complete set. The soy sauce smelled a little cheap. The chili powder was clumped from moisture. I did not care. Not even a little bit. I nearly cried. Thank you for the delivery. We made multiple trips hauling 2 whole cows and all the rice sacks into our tree hole. Lulutis conveniently didn't have time to bring back the cow heads. I wasn't going to call her out on that lie. Partly out of respect, partly because I'd realized something important. I don't own a pot big enough to cook a cow head anyway. According to Lulutis, when she went back for beef, the monsters were still fighting each other over food in a massive brawl. Too bad about the other cows. Probably can't recover them now, she said. Too bad we couldn't search the bodies for valuables. Hopefully those party animals don't swallow anything expensive. I was already planning a return trip. After winter, we'd need money to settle in a town. Every copper counts. Lulutis grabbed a crystal core to recharge. She'd been running her brain phone all day and was completely drained. Meanwhile, I rubbed my hands together with evil glee. Fresh beef, chili powder, pepper, soy sauce. Tonight's menu? Hot pot. Just boil water and dip. The simplest, most beautiful cooking method ever invented by civilization. I sliced the thawed beef paper thin, arranged it neatly in my lunchbox like a professional, and got the water boiling. The pot bubbled. Steam rose. My mouth watered so hard it hurt. But Lulutis was still recharging. I couldn't start without her. I don't know how long I waited. Practiced writing on the ground to distract myself. My characters were still ugly, but definitely improving. When Lulutis finally came back to reality, she saw me sitting by the pot with untouched beef, doing calligraphy homework. You haven't eaten yet? Waiting for you, obviously. A soft laugh echoed in my head. Warm. Genuine. What's funny? Nothing. Let's eat. Her tentacle grabbed a slice of beef and headed straight for the boiling pot. I smacked it with my chopsticks. What? She froze. Do not stick your tentacles in the hot pot. It doesn't burn me, though. I also have to eat from that pot. Hygiene, Lulutis. Hygiene. This body looks dark, but it's perfectly clean. My tentacles are spotless. And anyway, I can't use your weird eating sticks. How am I supposed to hold 2 tiny wooden rods with a tentacle? I stared at her tentacle. Looked up at her. Back at the tentacle. Fine. Then don't cook your own. She was about to explode. I'll do it for you. You just eat. As long as you keep your tentacles out of my pot, I will personally cook and serve every single piece. Deal? No more slime. We have beef. We have seasoning. Life is beautiful, and the hot pot was magnificent. I couldn't literally hand feed Lulutis since I still have no idea where her mouth is. So I'd cook the beef slices in the boiling water, pick them up with chopsticks, and she'd grab them with a tentacle. Good system. Efficient. Hygienic. She wasn't into the damp chili powder, just dipped everything in salt and inhaled it at inhuman speed. Eating together turned into, I feed Lulutis until she's full, then I eat. But honestly, watching her demolish beef after 2 weeks of dirt-flavored jello made it worth the wait. So your house exploded and you vanished. Nobody's going to come looking for you. The tree hole went dead quiet. Wind whistled through the cracks in our door. I immediately knew I'd stepped on something. Nobody's coming. I slowed my chewing to practically nothing. Abort topic. Abort topic. Find new subject. We'd spent weeks carefully not digging into each other's pasts. Occasional mentions, then quick subject changes. An unspoken agreement. I wasn't about to break it. My background is complicated. So I don't really have friends. Nobody cares what happened to me. She kept going. Voluntarily. After today, after what we did together, she decided I was trustworthy enough. She was dangling a thread for me to pull. Not a single person, not one. Pause. There used to be one. The princess? Yeah, her. But that friendship ended. She used me to crush a rebellion so she could grab political power. I hated being dragged into her schemes under the banner of friendship. So I gave up my citizenship, left the imperial capital, and built my own house in the middle of nowhere. Lu, you said you wanted to freeload at my place if magic doesn't work out. You can still change that request, you know, she laughed. My home isn't fun. It's lonely. And after the explosion, it probably needs rebuilding. But if your standards are low enough, basic living is covered. A 7th-rank mage can pick up odd jobs and live decently. So she's not a pampered noble after all. Complicated background, 0 friends, self-exiled from the empire, living alone in the wilderness. This changes my mental profile of her quite a bit. I'm not changing my request. Sure, I spent a month playing survival games with woodland creatures. My standards couldn't get any lower. If magic doesn't pan out, I'll need time to figure out my own path, and your protection is still essential for that. This is the safety net I chose. I'm keeping it. Her tentacle gently pressed against my forehead. I swatted it away instantly. I remember very clearly that you just used those 2 tentacles to grab oily beef. Did you wash them? Total silence. She'd been trying to do some mage contract ritual, an informal promise ceremony to show she took my request seriously. She'd apparently planned to formalize it with a real magical contract once her seal was partially broken. I ruined the entire moment by asking about hand hygiene. Wash. I'll go scrub them in snow. HMPH. I had no idea what the humph was about. Is washing your hands before touching someone's forehead really that unreasonable? You grabbed oily meat with those tentacles. Do you know how hard it is to take a bath in this weather? The courage required? And you want to smear beef grease on my skull? Whatever. I genuinely thought she was just initiating study time. Which, fair, it was about that hour. But wash your hands first. Basic courtesy. The next month was pure grind mode. Language sprint. Grammar boot camp. 2 voices echoing through our tree hole every day. One speaking the flattest, most monotone version of this world's language ever produced. One speaking Chinese with 0 distinction between flat and raised tongue sounds. Lulutis said my pronunciation sounded like a road flattened by a carriage. No ups, no downs, just one continuous droning note. I told her that her Chinese had 0 tongue positioning accuracy. We had the exact same problems, just mirrored. But after roasting each other, we both realized the same thing. Ugly pronunciation or not, we could actually understand each other now. That's what matters. I also discovered fun little pronunciation mix-ups between our languages that we turned into secret-coded phrases. Private jokes that doubled as encryption. Useful and entertaining. We went back to the battle site once during this month. The monsters had thrown such a thorough after-party that everything was gone. Bones dragged away. Food eaten. Even the flatbread I thought was too bland for any creature. Lulutis helpfully informed me that slimes aren't the only omnivores around. Good to know. Terrifying to know. The only things left were weapons and armor. Luckily, nothing in this forest eats metal. I pried a decorative yellow topaz from a sword handle. Small score. Not bad. Lulutis asked why I didn't take the fancy enchanted silver armor. That thing would sell for a fortune. This gem? I can tell anyone I found it randomly. Totally believable. A custom-fitted enchanted silver armor that doesn't match my body can't be explained by my non-existent magical abilities, being hawked around town right after a count's son goes missing, one tiny mental connection, and I'm suspect number one. Let it stay there. The battle damage on the armor will tell whoever finds it that the count's son died fighting monsters. Clean story. Earn within your means. Money beyond your capability to protect will only attract disaster. Until we have enough power to handle the outside world, everything we do follows one word. Careful. That's my creed. Carved it into my brain since day one in this world. Back home, I expanded the perimeter alarm system. More sticks, more coverage. Monsters get hungrier as winter deepens. Can't be too paranoid. One evening during grammar drills, both of us cringing at each other's terrible accents, a sharp snap came from outside. I looked at the campfire. Lulutis looked at the door. Blue eyes glowed in the darkness. Getting closer. More sticks snapping. My alarm system screaming danger. But when we peeked out, neither of us felt fear. Just surprise. The white wolf stood at our doorstep, holding a dead slime in its mouth. The slime was absolutely destroyed, beaten nearly in half, juices drained, body tissue frozen over with ice crystals. The wolf set it down, nudged it toward our entrance with its paw, then crouched low and stared at us with those massive blue eyes. I really wanted to see Lulutis's expression, but Lulutis doesn't have a face. Let's go check it out. It brought us a slime as a gift. It's not trying to lure us into an ambush. We're not even worth the calories it burned catching that thing. Stepped outside into howling wind that slapped snow against my face like tiny frozen punches. The wolf pushed the slime closer with its nose. Lulutis flipped it over with a tentacle. Another unlucky forest slime. My mouth immediately filled with phantom grass and dirt flavor. No. I have beef now. I am done with slime. I graduated from Slime Academy. I have my diploma, and I am never going back. But this wolf nearly died. We saved it. And now it dragged itself through a blizzard to find us a thank you gift. If I reject this slime, this stubborn animal is going to go hunt something else to bring us. Something that might not be as harmless looking as a slime. And it might get hurt again doing it. The only creature in this entire wilderness that's shown us genuine kindness. And I'm going to make it risk its life over my food preferences? No. Fine. Accepted. Thank you, wolf. Very thoughtful. Besides, we have seasoning now. Maybe I can make slime mash 2.0 with some actual flavor this time? God, listen to me. Seasoned slime mash. This is what my culinary career has become. Neither of us expected the white wolf to survive those injuries. A month ago, it could barely lift its head. Now, perfectly fine, running around like nothing happened. Meanwhile, I stubbed my toe and limped for 3 days. The healing gap between humans and apex predators is frankly insulting. The wolf's first visit was the slime delivery. After that, it kept coming back every few days. Must have noticed we weren't exactly thrilled about the slime, because it stopped bringing those and started dropping off frozen small animals instead. Variety pack. Much appreciated. Every time was the same routine. Show up silently, place dead thing on ground, make brief eye contact, leave immediately. Zero small talk. The strong silent type. Then one morning I caught it hiding in a snow mound near our tree hole. Just lying there, buried, watching. We made eye contact for a few seconds. It shook off the snow, stood up, and walked away like it wasn't just doing a secret surveillance shift outside our house. Come to think of it, no dangerous monsters had come near our tree hole this entire winter. Probably because every creature in the forest could sense this absolute unit parked outside our front door like a furry security system. 80 days of winter. 16 tally marks of 5 on my wall. 80 days of grinding language skills until our brains leaked out our ears. And finally, we got there. My grammar was still bumpy, but people could understand me now. My listening was even better. Lulutis tested me repeatedly, and I never missed a single thing. Ready for human contact. Mostly. Probably. Hopefully. Lulutis's Chinese, on the other hand, went from adorable disaster to genuinely impressive at terrifying speed. At first I could make fun of her chubby round characters. Her tentacle handwriting looked like a bunch of well-fed dumplings sitting in a row. Then she got better. Her characters started looking elegant, like someone who'd studied calligraphy. Meanwhile, mine still looked like a drunk chicken walked through ink. I can't copy your handwriting style. Is mine ugly? That sentence almost killed me. She was trying to write words to match my level. My handwriting is so bad that a prodigy mage was attempting to downgrade herself to match it. I could not let her see my writing next to hers, so I launched into a passionate speech about the art of calligraphy, how her style had classical elegance and scholarly depth, and basically talked her out of ruining her beautiful penmanship to copy my chicken scratches. Crisis averted. Ego barely surviving. Then one day I walked outside, and the world had changed. Snow melting. River flowing again. Little green shoots poking through the mud. Birds chirping on branches. The wolf was napping under our tree when a flock of noisy birds landed above its head. It opened one eye. Crouched. Launched straight up. Spring birds arrived. Spring birds, immediately eaten. Wolf, satisfied nap resumed. Welcome to spring, I guess. Time to prepare for departure. Lulutis sorted the magical herbs we'd collected all winter, ranking them by rarity and condition. The best ones she set aside to sell. The rest she ground up into crude pills, limited by her sealed magic. Not great quality, but better than nothing. She even made a care package of healing pills for the wolf. Wrapped it in cloth, ready for our goodbye. I counted our assets. 1 yellow topaz from the sword handle. 3 silver coins, Naka's promised reward. A pile of low-grade pills. 7 rare herb specimens, value unknown. Lulutis estimated we could probably trade all this for a decent house. But that was based on prices she knew from her region. We had zero idea what currency this area used or what the local economy looked like. So I'm mentally prepared for disappointment. Now, the big problem. Lulutis can't be seen. I originally planned to empty my backpack and stuff her inside. Then I had a better idea. I found the wolf, held up my backpack, and through a combination of terrible charades and worse pronunciation, tried to explain what I needed. The wolf stared at me for a solid minute, completely motionless, expression clearly saying, I am looking at the dumbest creature in this forest. I was starting to panic. Was my spoken language that bad? Could it not understand a single word? Then the wolf casually stood up, bounded away, and came back carrying a slightly damaged leather backpack in its mouth. Animal hide material, big enough for our needs. You understood the whole time? Then why did you stare at me like I was an idiot for a full minute? A nod? A tail wag? Anything. Lulutis squeezed inside. Perfect fit. Problem solved. Next up, my cover story. I wrote myself a character profile. Luyu, world traveler. Someone who's crossed multiple regions seeking to understand how vast the world truly is. This explains my weird accent, my gaps in local knowledge, and makes my background basically untraceable. Nobody can fact-check a traveler from a place they've never heard of. Lulutis mentioned that actual world travelers exist here. People who journey across continents drawing maps. They're treated like celebrities. Local rulers welcome them warmly. Adventurer guilds give them maximum support. And their hand-drawn maps are treasured like gold. Perfect cover. I was feeling pretty smug about my script until Lulutis read it and immediately suggested an edit. Add that you're also a noble from your homeland. Huh. Trust me, noble status gets you better treatment and fewer hassles. Much fewer hassles. Her voice went dark. Speaking from experience, I thought about it. Sure, but I don't know how to act like a noble. I can't pull off that vibe. You can learn. So the script got rewritten. Luyu, mysterious traveling noble from a distant land, possessing knowledge unknown to the locals. My original, friendly approachable guy, angle got demoted. The new keywords, mysterious and unknown. To sell this persona, I need to either learn magic fast or help Lulutis break enough of her seal to back me up. One person maintaining an elaborate lie with zero magical ability? That's a house of cards in a hurricane. While I was perfecting my script in my head, Lulutis floated over with that. I just had an interesting thought, energy. There's a type of mage called a summoner. They form contracts to call beings into temporary service. The summoner pays a price. The summoned creature fulfills a request. What gets summoned depends on the summoner's emotions, needs, and mental imagery. If you picture a cat while summoning a housekeeper, you get a cat-eared person or a pure-blooded cat folk. 1100 years ago, at a Mage Association academic conference, a scholar proposed a famous theory. The summoning ritual draws from the summoner's understanding of the world. Everything summoned falls within their cognitive boundaries. The world responds with things that already exist in some form. But what if someone imagines something that doesn't exist in this world at all? What form would the response take? This is the imagined life theory, also known as the summoner's cognitive breakthrough hypothesis. Two round white dots flashed inside her black fog, like eyes appearing and disappearing in an instant. Wait, were those her eyes? Hidden in the fog this whole time? I've been living with her for 3 months, and this is the first time I've seen them. But what she said next distracted me from that revelation completely. Luyu, you're not from this world. Your knowledge, your memories, your understanding of reality, none of it exists here. If you were a summoner and you used your cognition to shape the ritual, what would answer your call? The tree hole went quiet except for the crackling fire. I stared at Lulutis. She stared back with eyes I could no longer see. What would I summon? Something from MY world. Something that doesn't exist here at all. A tank? A fighter jet? A smartphone with GPS? Got a really good rice cooker? Look, don't judge me. 3 months of campfire cooking changes a man's priorities. Lulutis's summoner question was way above my pay grade, but I was curious enough to ask a follow-up. This imagined life theory, nobody ever proved it. Oh, plenty tried. What followed was the most insane history lesson I've gotten in this tree hole, and I once learned that slime is a delicacy. So the bar was already high. 1100 years ago, right after the theory dropped, some 7th-rank summoner chugged a bunch of hallucinogens and ran a public summoning ritual while completely out of his mind. Mages from every country came to watch. The guy was tripping so hard he'd escaped all normal mental frameworks. He summoned a dragon with spider legs. It existed for about 5 seconds, did absolutely nothing, and vanished. The summoner couldn't give it any commands because he was too busy being high. Cost him barely any magic. When people asked him later what he'd been imagining, he couldn't remember. And that was the good outcome. After Spider Dragon Guy, summoners went absolutely feral. 200 years of escalating madness. One guy had his students attack his brain with mental magic until he went permanently insane, then tried to summon something. Lost control of the ritual, magic exploded, leveled everything nearby. Others kidnapped babies, raised them in total isolation from the world, thinking these blank slate children could imagine something truly new. Then they linked their minds to these kids and forced summoning rituals. The children had zero magical ability. They all died. The scholar who originally proposed the theory, an 8th-rank mage named Hanlon Luodan, spent his final years being blamed for everything. Died bitter and broken. His last words? Those who tried to prove the theory proved they weren't human. His daughter became a summoner hunter. When the Mage Association sat there doing nothing about the atrocities, she personally assembled a hit squad. Elf hunters, goblin bounty hunters, giant slayers, and they went on a killing spree against the rogue summoners. Things got violent enough that every kingdom and the Mage Association finally passed joint laws banning unauthorized research into the theory. But you can't close a box once it's opened. Even now, some summoners still try to sneak around the rules. They all fail. The theory remains an eternal, unsolvable mystery. Lulutis told me all this, then circled back to her original point. I'm from another world. My entire frame of reference is alien to this reality. If any summoner could crack the theory, it might be someone like me. Being a summoner sounds kind of interesting, I said, rubbing my chin. But first things first, we need to actually leave this forest. While Lulutis packed our bags, I sat down with a charcoal stick and started drawing on scraps of cloth. She glanced over, assumed I was practicing calligraphy again, and left me alone. When she came back, I'd drawn a complete egg-shaped map with place names, local specialty products, and geographical features. Is that a map of your world? Nah. My geography grades were terrible. Can't reproduce real maps from memory. Then what? I asked this. Totally fake. I grinned. I'm supposed to be a traveling explorer, right? If someone asks to see proof of my journeys and I've got nothing? Suspicious. These maps are props, places that don't exist, described as being incredibly far away. Nobody can verify them. One might not be enough. I'll make a few more and redraw them with better tools once we reach civilization. Lulutis had nothing to say. She just stared at me like I was either a genius or clinically paranoid. She absolutely did not believe me when I said this level of detail obsession was something I developed from being scared in this world. She was convinced I was always like this. She's probably right. 2 full days of packing. During that time, the wolf noticed the activity in our tree hole. It watched us from a distance, understanding what was happening. Then it silently turned and walked away. The birds reclaimed the nearby trees within minutes of its departure. They'd been waiting. Cowards. Last night in the tree hole. Couldn't sleep. Lying on my hay bed, staring at the ceiling, running through everything. Appeared here with graduation luggage. Survived alone for a month. Lulutis showed up. 3 months of language boot camp that felt like going back to school. Tomorrow? Graduation day. Again. Into complete unknown. Again. Lulutis wasn't sleeping either. Poking the campfire with a tentacle, lost in thought. I never asked, if you have no friends and no family, why do you want to go back so badly? I rolled over to face her direction. You're a real 7th rank mage. You could build a home anywhere. Silence. I figured she wasn't going to answer and went back to mentally rehearsing emergency scenarios. My house had a collection. Things I valued. I want to see if anything survived. If not, she paused, then smiled. Then, like you said, anywhere can be home. After this long, anything the explosion didn't destroy was probably looted by monsters or passers-by. She knew that. Just holding on to a sliver of hope. I noticed something. In everything she'd ever told me, Lulutis had zero attachment to the Solon Empire. No patriotism. No homesickness. Just a house full of stuff she cared about and a country that never cared about her. Morning came. Last meal in the tree hole. Slime mush, some edible herbs, a big piece of beef jerky. Greatest hits collection. My blanket was too bulky to carry, so I decided to leave it for the wolf. Even if he just used it as a floor mat, better than wasting it. But the wolf was nowhere to be found. We searched everywhere. The guardian who'd watched over us for half the winter was gone on the day we were leaving. That stung more than I expected. Lulutis left the healing pills on top of the blanket at the tree hole entrance. I figured the wolf was smart enough to understand. But just to be safe, I went back inside and carved a heart shape into the wall where the wolf would definitely see it. Lulutis floated in and drew a wolf head next to my heart with her tentacle. This should make the message clearer. We both laughed, shouldered our bags, started walking. The tree hole, my home, my prison, my classroom for 4 months, shrank behind us until it disappeared. Then we heard it. Rapid footsteps. Behind us. Getting closer. We looked up at a gentle slope just ahead. The white wolf came skidding to a stop at the top, body sideways, barely keeping itself from tumbling over the edge. Half its fur was covered in fresh blood and slime. It saw us and its eyes lit up. Surprise. Relief. It lowered its massive head, looked at us with those blue eyes, then snapped its jaw upward and launched a pouch through the air. It landed at our feet. I opened it. Silver coins. A whole bag full of silver coins. I looked at the blood and slime all over the wolf. It went out and mugged somebody, or several somebodies, to get us travel money. This was a going-away present, funded by violence. Are you hurt? I looked up at it. The wolf snorted hard through its nose. The universal animal expression for, please, as if, it's doing the thing again, Lulutis whispered. Only showing one side. She was right. Same trick as last time, body angled, hiding half of itself. Turn around and let us see. We locked eyes. I made it very clear. Either you show me voluntarily, or I climb up there and check myself. The wolf spun around dramatically and kicked dirt straight into our faces with its back leg. After wiping sand off our eyes, we looked. Not a single scratch. All that blood and goo belonged to whatever poor creatures it had robbed. This overgrown drama queen faked being injured again just to mess with us. I can't with this animal. I picked up the silver coins, relieved. Hey wolf, want to come with us? It shook its head. Yeah, I expected that. If it wanted to come along, it would have been waiting at the tree hole, not out committing armed robbery for farewell gifts. Pick up the stuff we left you. And lay low for a while. Stay quiet until summer. The people who sent that hunting party might come back for revenge. The wolf gave me the most contemptuous look an animal has ever produced. Don't give me that face. Some of them might be too strong for you. And if you get yourself killed, I'll come all the way back here for nothing. It said nothing. Lulutis floated up and placed a tentacle on its forehead, petting it softly. When she came back to my side, the wolf stood and gave me a small nod. Message received. When I'm done with my business, I called out as we walked away. I'm coming back to visit. The wolf watched us go. 2 figures, one walking, one floating, disappearing down the mountain trail. For months. 1 tree hole, 1 nightmare fog ball, 1 overgrown guard dog, and me. Not a bad start to an Isekai'd life, honestly. Not bad at all. 2 days wandering through the forest. 2 days. No people found, which was honestly fine by me. Out here in the middle of nowhere, even the nicest person might decide you'd make a better corpse than a conversation partner. Spring had woken up every single monster and beast that spent winter sleeping, and they were all cranky about it. The forest soundtrack was a non-stop mix of terrifying roars and death screams. Very relaxing. 5 stars. Would not recommend. Then, finally, the tree line broke and I saw it. A town. An actual town with buildings and streets, and presumably people who eat cooked food from plates. Lulutis and I both exhaled at the same time. Walking down the main road toward town, I immediately became a tourist attraction. Every adventurer within eyeshot was staring at me. Fair enough, my white dress shirt and gray jeans probably looked like alien fashion to people wearing medieval linen and rusty chainmail. I was checking them out too. Most of them wore white wooden ID tags, the lowest rank of adventurer. And they looked the part. Wrinkled clothes with holes. Weapons so rusty that one cut would give you tetanus as a bonus feature. Some swords had so many chips in the blade that if you stabbed someone, the blade would probably snap off inside them. Congratulations, you've given your enemy a permanent souvenir. No black iron or steel rank adventurers anywhere. Weird. Why were so many bottom-tier adventurers clustered here? Walked into town. No city walls. The patrol guards glanced at me and just walked away. Didn't check my identity. Didn't ask a single question. Either this town is incredibly safe or incredibly careless. Then the noise hit me. New bounty from the Adventurer Guild. Count Nord is searching for his eldest son. 5 silver coins for any information. All ranks welcome. Oh no. I kept my face completely neutral and kept walking. Internally, my heart was doing backflips into a swimming pool of anxiety. Weapons. Practical weapons. From white wood to steel grade. Armor that can withstand a forest slime's full attack. If it fails, we offer refunds. Fresh deer meat. Caught this morning. Buy now and get a free bowl of deer blood. Mutton oil black bread combo. Only 2 copper coins. Filling and affordable. Fresh spring vegetable soup. 3 coppers. Fresh squeezed slime juice. Anyone want fresh squeezed slime juice? I stood in the middle of the street, brain buffering at maximum capacity, trying to process 17 conversations in a language I'd learned 3 months ago inside a tree hole. I was just about to mentally message Lulutis about the slime juice vendor when a massive hand grabbed my arm. A huge dark-skinned man shoved his yellow teeth into my field of vision and hit me with breath that could qualify as a chemical weapon. Want some deer meat? Very fresh. I'd been standing in front of his stall like a zombie. Total accident. Completely my fault for spacing out. No thank you. I yanked my arm free. Wait. Normally I don't sell deer blood separately, but you look so skinny. I'll make an exception. Only 20 copper coins. I didn't know the exchange rate. I didn't know the local prices. I didn't know anything about this economy. But I looked at that smile. The smile of a man who's about to overcharge someone and knows it, and walked away without a second thought. Some things are universal across all worlds. Salesman smile means salesman price. Hey, don't go. 18 coppers, 16, 15 is my absolute bottom. I'm losing money here. Dressed that nice and you can't spare a few coppers? From inside the backpack, Lulutis whispered through a peephole. How did you know 20 coppers wasn't worth it? I sighed. This woman. This brilliant, genius, 7th-rank mage who could kill a slime in 1 second flat. I've never met a merchant who says they're losing money and actually Lulutis would get scammed buying a glass of water. I'm now fully certain of this. I needed to understand this economy fast. Can't survive in a feudal fantasy world without knowing what things cost. I watched the black bread vendor for a while, then spent 2 copper coins on the mutton oil black bread combo. The review? Imagine sandpaper with animal grease on it. The bread was so coarse it scraped my throat on the way down, and the mutton oil was half melted and tasted like a sheep died in my mouth. Some guy nearby was eating the exact same thing with obvious delight. My future diet prospects were looking grim. I headed for the grain shop. A steel-rank adventurer walked out carrying 2 bags of grain. Good sign. This place is legit. I pulled out my water bottle. I vaguely remembered that a full bottle weighed about 500 grams. Perfect measuring tool. The grain shop owner spotted me through the door. My white shirt and jeans confused him. Too strange to be local. Maybe some eccentric noble from the capital? He rushed out from behind the counter. Then he got a closer look. Skinny, dusty, dirty clothes. His enthusiasm visibly deflated. I watched his face cycle through rich customer to maybe not in about 3 seconds. Yeah, buddy, I see you. I've met your type before. Every restaurant host who seats well-dressed people by the window does the same thing. I want rice equal in weight to the water in this bottle. He put on a monocle, turned the plastic bottle over in his hands, squeezed it, sniffed it. Couldn't figure out what material it was. Not glass, not gel, something in between. Never seen anything like it. My accent was clearly bothering him too. Stiff and mechanical. He couldn't place where I was from. His eyes drifted down to my shoes, caked in yellow mud. But the exposed parts showed material he'd never seen either. He led me to the warehouse, had a servant put rice on a balance scale against my water bottle. Lulutis whispered, "The weight unit on this scale is different from the one I know." Great. Great. This continent doesn't have standardized measurements. Every region probably has its own system. The nightmare I feared most. My whole reason for bringing the water bottle was to establish a baseline I could mentally convert from. Also to figure out prices. The scales balanced. The shopkeeper looked at the reading. "Ah, so you want one sure worth, Lulutis? I actually know what a sure is. I'll explain later." "How much?" I asked. 5 copper coins. I grabbed a handful of rice from the scale and smelled it. Zero aroma. Stale. Slightly rotten smell. Grains were rough, shrunken, dull. Old rice. Bad rice. Worse than my college cafeteria rice, which I previously thought was the rock bottom of rice quality. This world found a new basement. But now I had my price baseline. I pulled out the rice we'd taken from the dead Count's son's supplies and showed it to the owner. "I don't want your old rice." "How much for this quality?" He stared at it. "This is upper middle grade. About 20 coppers. Generally, only nobles and wealthy merchants can afford it." I didn't take his bait about the noble angle. "Is there anything more expensive?" "Certainly, but we don't carry it. Premium rice and flour are only available near the capital. The people who eat that level of grain are beyond merely rich or noble, so regular decent rice, not stale garbage, runs about 10 coppers. A normal family's baseline." The shop owner dropped his condescension. "You're not here to buy rice, are you?" I placed 10 copper coins on the counter. "I'd like to learn about local prices from you." "Got a few minutes?" He chuckled. "Travelers usually go to taverns for information. All sorts of people there. Why come to me?" I just smiled. He took the money. Half an hour later, I walked out with a working knowledge of the Yas Kingdom's economic system loaded into my brain, and immediately wished I could unload it. Copper and silver coins are the main currency across the continent. Fine, but metal coins wear down over time. Minting ratios vary by region. Copper isn't even the smallest unit. Vendors here round prices up because adventurers don't carry loose change. This is a frontier town, after all. People who just survived a monster fight want to drink and eat, not count pennies. Live fast, spend hard. Which means when I eventually reach an actual city, every small purchase will involve converting between currency units. And some of those conversion rates? Not whole numbers. "Want me to explain what a sure is?" Lulutis offered. I pressed my palm against my forehead, face drooping toward the ground. "Not yet. Let me process. I need to process." This wasn't going to work. I couldn't spend weeks mastering medieval economics when I needed to awaken as a mage, try becoming a summoner, learn about this world, and help Lulutis break her seal. That's my actual priority list. Currency conversion is not on it. When you can't do something yourself and don't have time to learn. "Lulutis, I think I need to hire a servant." "Lu, why don't you contract a servant?" Huh. We said the exact same thing at the exact same time, from completely different angles, and arrived at the exact same conclusion. I love this partnership. Went back to the grain shop to ask about buying servants. The owner looked at me like I'd just spoken backwards. "If you mean the noble servant exchange ceremony, you'd need to negotiate with other nobles directly. I'm just a grain seller near the border, sir. No aristocrats in my family." I realized I'd used the wrong word. Servant exchange is apparently some fancy noble tradition. What I actually wanted was simpler and uglier. "Sorry, I meant, where can I buy a slave?" "Ah, bad timing, I'm afraid. A slave caravan came through recently from the border, but this town mainly serves adventurers and traveling merchants. Nobody here needs slaves, so the caravan moved on toward the capital after less than a day. I'd recommend going to the royal capital. Better selection, more races to choose from, and harder to get scammed. How far is the capital? 9 to 12 days on foot. You might consider renting a mount. A fast one can get you there in under a day, though it's expensive, or you can wait by the main road outside town. Pay a traveling merchant a fee, and they'll usually make room on their wagon. Alright. Options. I tipped him a few coppers and left to investigate. First stop, the mount rental place. The guy heard I wanted to go to the capital and practically skipped leading me to the yard. I was genuinely excited. This is a fantasy world. I'd been living in a tree for 4 months. Surely the riding options would be rainbow ponies. An entire lineup of rainbow ponies. Every pastel color imaginable. Standing there looking like a birthday party had thrown up on a stable. The employee didn't notice my face melting with disappointment and kept enthusiastically introducing each horse like they were luxury vehicles. I tilted my backpack slightly so Lulutis could peek through her spy hole. Let me guess, you're upset they're not exotic enough? She knows me too well. You told me this world has unicorns, griffins, domesticated giant eagle folk in the Solon Empire. This backwater town is lucky to have mixed breed horses at all. These are probably all low-grade crossbreeds, flashy colors, zero substance. The riding experience will be equally mediocre no matter which one you pick. Dreams crushed. I picked a black one that supposedly had griffin bloodline. Supposedly, doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. Then the rental terms hit. Since I'm not a citizen of the Yas Kingdom, not a registered adventurer, and have zero local credentials, I need to pay the horse's full value up front as deposit, then redeem it at a partnered merchant guild in the capital. 1 silver coin, not including the rental fee. I turned around and walked out without a word. Here's the thing. The silver coins the wolf gave us looked completely different from Naka's silver coins and the Count's son's silver coins. Different kingdoms, different minting. If these coins aren't Yas Kingdom currency, I need to exchange or melt them down, and the conversion losses would eat most of our 46 coins alive. Poverty keeps you rational. Plan B it is. Wait by the road for a merchant caravan heading toward the capital. The roadside was already crowded with people who had the same idea. Drunk adventurers celebrating survival. Ordinary civilians nervously clutching goods they'd bartered from adventurers. And a bunch of people who looked like they'd been through a meat grinder. From the chatter, I pieced together the situation. The Count's eldest son, yes, the one Lulutis killed, was apparently Count Nort's most prized heir. The second and third sons are useless. The Count is desperate. 5 silver coins for any information on his boy. That bounty had attracted swarms of low-rank adventurers to this area, all hoping to get lucky. Problem was, every monster and beast in the forest had just woken up from winter hibernation in peak hangry mode. Result? Adventurer parties going in, fewer coming out. One steel rank party, that's 3rd tier, got completely wiped out because they accidentally walked into a territorial war between forest banshees and a slime colony. 5 silver coins bounty, life-threatening forest. Missing heir who is definitely not coming home, because he's definitely dead, because we definitely made sure of that. I kept my face very, very blank. No carriages heading toward the capital yet. But a convoy appeared from the opposite direction, charging in at full speed. Somebody with sharp eyes called out, "Nobles! Everyone clear the road." The road was wide. Plenty of room. And yet everyone scrambled to the sides like the pavement itself was about to explode. I was thinking, this is ridiculous, while my body was already moving to the edge. Not just to the edge, further back than everyone else. Survival instinct beats principles every time. 3 knights in gleaming silver armor galloped in, plumes on their helmets bouncing like angry roosters. Behind them, a dozen more knights escorting several fancy carriages. The mounted knights sneered at the roadside peasants, actually curled their lips in disgust. At people who were just standing there, existing. A carriage curtain flipped open. A fruit pit flew out and nailed a drunk adventurer square in the face. The big guy instinctively grabbed his weapon. His friends nearly tackled him. Are you insane? Do you know what you're doing? Put it away. If they decide to care, they'll challenge you to a duel. And by duel they mean public execution disguised as sport. Too late. The knights spotted the movement. The carriages stopped. Their horses aren't crossbreeds, but they're far superior to the rental ones, Lulutis commented before getting distracted by the unfolding scene. Disrespecting the Lord and his guests. Even drawing a weapon. Only a black iron rank adventurer, yet so arrogant. A knight dismounted and walked toward the group. Slow, deliberate, terrifying. The drunk adventurer sobered up instantly. Sweating, stammering. His companions shoved his head down into a bow toward the carriages, apologizing frantically. Their groveling did absolutely nothing. The knight's enchanted weapons started glowing. Enchanted weapons, Lulutis noted. Low-quality enchantment, though. The standards here are really terrible. I didn't care about enchantment quality. I was watching a group of adventurers, people who fight monsters for a living, kneeling in the dirt, begging for their lives, because a fruit pit hit one of them in the face. Just before the weapons came down, a bored, airy voice drifted from inside the carriage. Since they've apologized, I'll forgive them. Remember, you're still in Count Nort's territory. Adventurers may be free, but you make your living on my father's land. Something flew out and cracked the drunk guy on the head again. Not a weapon. Another fruit. A gift. Eat it. Don't let it happen again. The carriages rolled on. The knights followed. Only after they were completely gone did the kneeling adventurers shakily stand up. I scanned the crowd. The civilians? Zero reaction. Already moving toward the merchant caravan that had conveniently arrived. Just another Tuesday for them. One adventurer tried to shout curses. His friend clamped a hand over his mouth again. What count? His territory is practically falling apart anyway. Who's he showing off for? Can you please be quieter? There might be mages with the convoy. Lulutis had told me to add noble to my character sheet. Said it would open doors, earn respect, smooth out problems. This is what nobles look like here. This is the role I'm supposed to play. Can I even pull this off without vomiting? I joined the queue, found a caravan heading to the capital, paid 79 copper coins, and got a seat in a shared wagon. As the wheels started turning, I stared at the road behind us. Lulutis, is that what nobles are like? Some are good. Some are bad. Most of the ones I've dealt with were bad or stupid, and today wasn't even the worst. My advice? Whatever your expectations are for nobility, lower them more. I didn't fully swallow everything Lulutis said about nobles. Not that I don't trust her, but she grew up surrounded by them and clearly has baggage. Her opinions come pre-seasoned with resentment. I need to see things with my own eyes. I'm the brain of this operation. The merchant caravan drove through the night with shift changes. No stops. The night sky in this world? Absolutely breathtaking. No light pollution. So the stars looked like someone had crushed diamonds and blown them across black velvet. I wanted to stare forever, but exhaustion dragged my eyelids down. Sleep was a nightmare. Not because of monsters, because of my seatmates. Guy on my left hadn't bathed since the concept of bathing was invented. His body odor could strip paint off walls. A natural stimulant that kept me alert against my will. Guy on my right had an open wound that had gone rotten. Spent the entire night squeezing blood and yellow pus out of it. Right next to me, in a moving wagon, with nowhere to escape. I slept in 10-minute intervals between waves of nausea. When both of them got off at the next town, I almost wept with relief and took the deepest breath of my entire life. During a merchant stop, I spotted a shop with a coin symbol, a money changer. Pulled out my yellow topaz and went in. 6 silver coins, they offered. Absolutely not the real price. At the next town, I tried 2 more shops. This time I wrote everything down instead of speaking. My accent was clearly getting me lowballed. One shop, 7 silver. The other, 9 silver. Learning that the capital was less than half a day away, I went back to the 9 silver shop. You're selling it now? Lulutis was surprised. The closer to the capital, the higher the price. I was writing my counteroffer to the shopkeeper while simultaneously brain-chatting with Lulutis. Multitasking champion. We start spending money the second we enter the capital. You don't think I'm checking into an inn, do you? You're buying a house? Wouldn't renting be smarter? I locked into a vicious haggling battle with the shopkeeper. I wanted 10 silver. He insisted on 9. Neither of us budged. Eventually I accepted 9. The guy never even mentioned smaller denominations. He'd clearly seen through my urgency. I was negotiating from weakness, and we both knew it. To answer your question, renting is a trap for us. Think about it. We're outsiders. The Mount rental place already demanded a full deposit because I had no local credentials. Buying property might require a guarantor, and guarantor arrangements are a swamp I don't want to wade into. Plus, rental agreements protect the owner. They'll include clauses about not damaging the property. When we leave, the landlord accuses us of breaking things, demands compensation. What do? We're foreigners with zero connections, zero legal standing. Buying a house hurts once. Renting bleeds you slowly. And I straightened up. Starting from the capital, I am a noble. A noble with pride doesn't rent. He OWNS. Even if it's modest, it must be his. I'd thought this through on the road. From now on, I'm in character. Full time. No breaks. Noble isn't just a word you slap on yourself. If your behavior doesn't match what people expect from nobility, you're suspicious. Every detail counts. But we're arriving by shared wagon, Lulutis teased. Some proud noble you are, riding coach with commoners. I'm a traveler. Travelers endure harsh conditions. But once I reach civilization, wanting comfort and maintaining appearances is perfectly consistent with the character. She had no comeback. I could practically hear her deflating inside the backpack. Whenever we debate strategy, she loses. Every single time. I think it genuinely frustrates her. The mighty 7th rank mage, stuffed in a leather backpack, peeking at the world through a tiny hole. She must be so annoyed. Half a day across flat plains, and there it was, the capital of the Yas kingdom. Actual walls this time. High walls. With a moat. Which made me wonder. The previous towns had no walls. Not because they were brave, probably because the king wouldn't let them build walls. Keep your regional lords defensible enough to function, but too weak to rebel. Classic central authority power play. The city gate guards? Standing there like decorative statues. No bag checks. No ID verification. No questions. Just standing. I'd been planning to get off the wagon early to avoid inspection. Completely unnecessary. Rode straight through. If they're not doing anything, why are they standing there? I muttered. Then I remembered Lulutis explaining that most nations on this continent are extremely open during peacetime. Adventurers, travelers, and merchants flow freely. It makes sense. These governments want people exploring, discovering, bringing back rare materials and maps of uncharted territory. The more I thought about it, the more I understood the system. Adventurers are useful idiots for the ruling class. They're the restless, ambitious, freedom-loving types who would otherwise cause political trouble. So you give them a framework, adventurer guilds, bounty boards, ranking systems, and channel all that dangerous energy outward. Let them fight dragons, explore ruins, die in goblin caves. They bring back wealth and resources. They thin their own ranks through natural selection. They have no national loyalty because they define themselves by personal achievement, not citizenship. And they can always be bought. Not with ideology, with money. Every faction and every kingdom can dangle rewards to attract adventurer muscle. Brilliant system, honestly. Horrifying, but brilliant. Understanding this, the guards at the gate made perfect sense. They're not security, they're decoration. The real security is the system itself. The capital was everything the frontier town wasn't. As the sun started setting, food vendors lined both sides of the main street, shouting over each other, some physically grabbing pedestrians to offer free samples. Color everywhere. Noise everywhere. Life everywhere. And then I saw my first non-human. A cat-eared boy walked past me. Looked mostly human. Same height, same build, same face structure. But on top of his head, 2 fuzzy cat ears that twitched occasionally. Behind him, a tail swaying back and forth. I snuck the most careful peek I could manage and was immediately struck by a critical question. He has cat ears on top and human ears on the sides of his head. Which ones actually work? Lulutis had been dying to talk after being sealed in a backpack all day. She launched into lecture mode like a professor who'd been gagged for a semester. Both work. The human ears just aren't as effective as the cat ears anymore. Cat ear folk are a subcategory of beast ear races, what we broadly call demi-humans. All beast ear races have bloodline variations. That boy has stronger human bloodline. So he looks mostly human with just ears and a tail. But if the cat bloodline is dominant instead, you start seeing more feline features. Paw pads on the hands. Dense fur coverage. More cat-like facial structure. Got it. The less human blood, the closer to full furry. Simple sliding scale. I looked around the street. Plenty of people were hugging and socializing with beast-eared boys and girls. Some of them were nearly pure-blooded, covered head to toe in fur, tails wagging, ears perked. I made a mental note. For certain individuals back in my old world, this city would be an absolute paradise. An entire dimension of exactly what they've been drawing on the internet for decades. I, however, had more pressing concerns, like buying a house, and not getting murdered, and becoming a mage, and maintaining my fake noble identity. But yeah, cat ears are real here. That's something. Lulutis was laughing. In my head, and since our chat runs on mental magic, there's no mute button. Her giggles echoed around my skull like a bouncy ball in a tin can. Are you done yet? No? I want to laugh a little more. I deserved it. Remember my whole speech about buying versus renting? The brilliant analysis about deposits and guarantors and landlord scams. The confident declaration that a noble must own property? Yeah. Turns out the royal capital has strict regulations on all property and land transactions. Can't just walk in and buy a house like it's groceries. Need approval processes. Need credentials. Need to basically be someone who matters. My entire PowerPoint presentation on why buying is superior was dead on arrival. Time for Plan B. Again, I'm running out of alphabet letters for backup plans. I found a noisy tavern. Lulutis had mentioned these are information gold mines, and you pay for intel with booze, not coins. Works for me. Scanned the room. Found my target sitting alone in the corner. A middle-aged guy with black hair, green eyes, and a face that looked exactly like a donkey. No offense to donkeys. He wore a black iron adventurer tag, that's rank 2, and was nursing his drink with zero food on the table. Just straight misery drinking. I sat down across from him without asking. He glanced up, burped, and started getting up to leave. Want me to buy you a few rounds? My stiff accent caught his attention. Those glowing green eyes scanned me head to toe. I didn't explain anything, just flagged down a server, pointed at another table's drinks and food because I couldn't pronounce a single menu item, and ordered copies of whatever they were having. Donkey Face watched me point and order like a tourist who'd lost his phrasebook. His curiosity won over his desire to leave. He sat back down. I'll introduce myself. Daka. People here call me Green Eyes Daka. Lulutis had taught me that common people often don't have full names. Partly because they lack the education to choose meaningful ones. Partly because noble names require avoidance. If you accidentally pick a name that matches or offends a local aristocrat, you're asking for trouble. So most lower-class people get one family name plus some random descriptor. Blue Fire John. Water Pattern George. Some don't even care about the order, just John Blue Fire. Others go pure nickname, like Green Eyes Daka, which meant my name was perfectly safe here. Nobody batted an eye at Luyu. In a world where people call themselves things like Sparkle Hank, my Chinese name was barely a blip. I know you have questions. Hic. HIC. After a series of championship-level hiccups, Daka grinned. You're not from the Yas Kingdom, are you, Mr. Luyu? Correct. Ask away. You're buying me drinks, so I'll answer what I can. Fair warning, though. I'm just a regular adventurer scraping by. Don't expect state secrets. I like this guy. Straight to business. No games. First question. Can I actually buy a house in the capital? Give up that idea immediately. Property around the capital is extremely tight right now. Then Daka gave me the history lesson that explained everything. The Yas Kingdom was founded by King Yas I, a shrewd operator who conquered and absorbed several small nations. To prevent his new vassal lords from rebelling, he banned them from building city walls on their territories. Brilliant move. Without walls, these nobles can't fortify against the crown, but it also means they can't protect their own people from monster attacks. Farmers and civilians in wall-less territories live in constant danger while the nobles hole up in their private fortified estates. Result? Common people flee to the capital, the only place with real walls and real safety. Exactly what Yas I wanted. Concentrate population at the center, strengthen the core. I'd already guessed that the wall-less towns weren't brave. They were forbidden from building defenses. Nice to have confirmation. Problem was, Yas I died. His son, Yas II, had less authority. The current king, Yas III, his vassals barely respect him. They're technically loyal but practically independent. The kingdom's unity is held together with diplomatic duct tape. Meanwhile, the eastern territories got destroyed. Goblins built underground labyrinths across the mountains and plains, multiplying until they overwhelmed multiple large city-states, the kingdom's most loyal strongholds. 10 years of losses. The entire eastern border is now monster territory. I went there once as a child, Daka said, voice going soft. By the gods, it was beautiful. Endless plains, golden wheat swaying in the wind. He trailed off. I noticed tears pooling in his eyes. I picked up my cup and clinked it against his. We both drank deep. The alcohol was terrible. Bitter, harsh, zero smoothness. Like someone brewed sadness and added vinegar. But it was cheap adventurer booze. What did I expect? Daka recovered and continued. The city-states fell to a combination of monster invasion and noble sabotage. The loyal lords kept losing battles, forced to retreat. The kingdom tried counterattacks multiple times, but couldn't hold recaptured territory. The royal knights and standing army aren't strong enough, and the goblins' underground tunnels make the entire region a permanent death trap. And the real reason they can't commit full military force? Daka pointed upward with one finger and gave me a knowing look. I understood immediately. If the king sends his entire army east to fight goblins, what stops his disloyal vassals from making moves at home? And if those vassals deliberately sabotage the campaign from within, causing the front line to collapse? Classic political deadlock. Can't go forward without leaving your back exposed. Can't stay still without losing territory. So the kingdom chose option C. Outsource the problem to adventurers. Post bounties through the Adventurer Guild. Offer great rewards. Attract fighters from all over. The best performers get land and property in the capital as incentives. Which brought us back to my original question. All the houses and land in the capital? Reserved for high-performing adventurers and people useful to the crown. Regular outsiders like me? No chance. If you're strong enough, Mr. Luyu, you could try earning your way in, Daka slurred, tongue getting thick from the alcohol. Strong enough. Right. I'm a regular human being with zero magical ability, a fake noble identity, and a sentient fog ball in my backpack. The only thing I've ever successfully fought was a squirrel, and even that was because it fell into a hole I dug. So buying a house is officially impossible. My grand strategy reduced to rubble within hours of arriving. Please let renting be straightforward. If there's a 17-step approval process for renting too, I'm going to lie down in the street and scream. Daka, my servant died of illness during my travels. Where can I buy a slave? Daka was seeing double at this point, swaying like a ship in a storm. SL slaves? Hick, you're in luck. A new batch arrived from the southern and western borders just days ago. They sell at night, west side of the city, near the horse track on the highland. He leaned in with a face full of wrinkles, all scrunched together into a drunk grin. I hear this batch has some real beauties. You know what I mean. I did not engage with that comment. Just called the server and paid the tab. Daka face planted onto the table and was out. The server laughed and told me not to worry. This place never closes. People sleep here until morning all the time. If he's taking up a paying customer's spot, they'll move him to a room. I nodded and left. Grateful for the information. Grateful I could breathe fresh air again. How much does a slave cost where you're from? I asked Lulutis once we were outside. Depends. Attractive ones and strong ones are always in demand. Mixed blood slaves usually cost a bit more because they tend to look good by human standards. 1 silver coin should give you decent options. 1 silver coin. Doable. And it was nighttime now. No point trying to rent a house this late. Might as well check out this slave market. Before heading out, I grabbed a long robe from a street vendor. With that covering me plus the darkness, Lulutis could finally crawl out of the backpack for the first time all day. She climbed up my back and perched on my shoulder behind my head. Fresh air. Open space. The energy of so many people around. She'd been stuck in a leather bag with a peephole for an entire day. I'd be emotional too. Stay hidden. If anyone spots you, we're both dead. She promised that if anything went wrong, she'd instantly separate from me, and we'd rendezvous later. Good plan. Terrifying that we need that plan. Found the slave market about an hour later, following road signs toward the horse track. The area was packed with parked carriages. Beyond a small stream, torches and glowing magic crystals lit up a clearing near a grove of trees. The moment I stepped in, the sound hit me like a wall. Vulgar cursing, angry shouting, flirtatious catcalling, women's forced giggles, screams of pain. It was like a festival market designed by someone with no soul. My first impression? Chaos. Under the flickering torchlight, every face wore dancing shadows. The wealthy wore masks and stood at a distance, sending servants to bid on their behalf. Adventurers crowded around certain cages, treating the inmates like free entertainment. Regular citizens? Not here. You needed to flash a silver coin at the entrance just to get in. Minimum buy-in for the world's worst nightclub. Most of the slaves kept their heads down, refusing to make eye contact. But the crowd didn't like that. After some complaints, a handler shoved a long stick through the bars and cracked it across the back of a slave who'd been hiding behind her hair. After several hits, the girl, maybe 17 or 18, actually pretty, with delicate features, finally pushed her hair aside with shackled hands. Her eyes were hollow. Dead. The crowd laughed. I remembered being a kid, watching adults chase piglets. They'd bang sticks on the ground, smack the piglets to panic them into a corner for easy grabbing. Same energy. Exact same energy. I stood there, not moving. Lulutis sighed. You don't have to say it. I know. I'm not a saint. I'm not a god. I can't save every single one of them. Even if I could, I can't protect them. I prepared myself for this before coming here. I have one ticket on one small boat. I'm not even sure the boat won't sink. But whoever gets that ticket won't be locked in a cage anymore, won't be displayed as merchandise, won't be examined by eyes full of contempt. One ticket. Just one. I'll encounter scenes like this many more times on this journey. I need to manage my emotions, or they'll manage me. Deep breath. Pull the face, covering down a bit. Focus. The actual transaction process was brutally simple. Money for merchandise. Want to inspect? Tell the merchant. They'll drag the slave out for you to examine personally. Too squeamish to touch? They'll do it for you. Full-service dehumanization. Nearby, a noble's attendant was inspecting a beast-eared male slave using a purple glowing crystal, scanning his body like a metal detector. The slave was muscular, nearly pure-blooded, brown fur, so the attendant punched him hard in the stomach. The slave grunted but didn't budge. Test passed. The attendant reported back to his masked master. Minutes later he returned. Remove his chains. Take him to the sparring ground. My lord is buying his combat ability. If he's useless, he goes back in the cage as a display piece. I noticed the slave's body trembling. Not when he was punched, but when they mentioned putting him back in the cage. Sir, see anything you like? We have warriors and a few mages available. A round, ball-shaped merchant waddled over to me, sensing a customer. Male or female? Males are running low. Lords along the route bought most of them. Females, though, plenty of options. If you're shopping by appearance, we can definitely satisfy your preferences. He was fishing for my type. Professional assessment of customer desires. Very efficient. Very disgusting. I pulled out one silver coin. Show me what this buys. Fatty didn't care who I was. Money talks. He left a helper behind and led me to an open area, the old horse track, now converted to temporary slave storage. Chains clinked everywhere. At his signal, his inventory stood up in a row for inspection. Like a lineup. Like products on a shelf. Some had hope in their eyes. Anywhere is better than here. Others had nothing. Same emptied-out stare as the girl in the cage. Lights off. Nobody home. I'm not looking for a saint to save. I'm looking for a fighter. Someone still resisting. Still angry. Still alive inside. If you've surrendered and gone numb. I understand. I don't blame you. But I need fire, not ash. Just as I was struggling to decide, a commotion erupted at a neighboring stall. A red-robed old man, apparently the market's manager, was chewing out a scrawny tall merchant named Oberto. Behind the old man, two guards dragged a silver-haired figure by the arms. Your defective product just went dragon shift and lost control. If she weren't already weakened, that count's honored guest's attendant would be dead. This kind of uncontrollable monster shouldn't be sold. And if you do sell it, don't hide the information. If something happens, we're both responsible. Oberto, one violation recorded for inadequate product screening, the old man announced publicly. After a private conversation, the old man left with his guards. That old man is a third-rank mage, Lulutis whispered. Probably the strongest mage here tonight. I wasn't interested in the old man. I was interested in one word. Subdragon. Someone with dragon blood? I'd been in this world for months and hadn't encountered anything truly fantastical yet. I figured dragons would be a much later discovery. but a dragon-blooded hybrid? Right here? Tonight? I wasn't the only curious one. Other customers crowded around Oberto's stall, not to buy, just to gawk at the dangerous freak. Up close, I saw that the subdragon was a girl. I couldn't use Lulutis's bloodline ratio lessons to judge her. She didn't fit neatly into any category I'd learned today. Reddish-brown, pointed horns on her head. Skin color somewhere between rose-brown and pale gray, creating a strange, exotic beauty. Proportional figure. She lay on the ground, gasping for breath, and even in that state, she was striking. Someone reached toward her, trying to push hair off her face for a better look. Oberto, irritated and done with today, shoved them away. The manager said she's dangerous. I'll lock her back up and have her destroyed later. If anyone wants to purchase other merchandise, talk to my assistants. Discounted prices today as compensation for this incident. Magic energy surged from Oberto's hands, binding the struggling subdragon girl. He grabbed her silver hair and started dragging her behind the rows of cages. I followed. Since you want to die so badly, I'll grant your wish, Oberto snarled at her. Once I sell everything in the capital, I'll ship you to the eastern border garrison. You can be bait for attracting monsters. You like biting people? Then you'll learn what being bitten feels like. PTO. A chunk of flesh, someone else's flesh, flew out of her mouth and smacked Oberto directly in the face. Mystery solved. Whatever she bit off that attendant earlier, she'd been keeping it in her mouth this whole time. The original owner probably didn't want it back. She didn't smile at his humiliation. She just stared at him with pure, burning hatred. Eyes full of fire, full of rage, full of fight. There it was. Oberto's blood rushed to his head. He drew a magical weapon, energy crackling, ready to destroy this expensive investment that had cost him a fortune, and brought him nothing but losses and nearly got his trading license revoked. Wait. His arm froze mid-swing, locked in the most awkward pre-casting pose imaginable. He turned toward the darkness behind him. I stepped out of the shadows, fully wrapped in my robe. Let me inspect the merchandise first. If she's not what I'm looking for, you can kill her then. Oberto was about to blast this girl into next week, but the word, inspect, made him freeze like I'd hit his pause button. Money talks louder than rage, every time. The lighting back here was terrible, just faint firelight barely sketching out my silhouette. My voice came out flat, mechanical, zero emotion. Deliberately creepy. Every word the same pitch, same tone, like a robot reading a funeral announcement. Oberto had seen plenty of shady customers in the slave trade, so my mysterious act didn't surprise him much. What did bother him was making eye contact with me. Something about looking under my hood made him feel like there were more than two eyes staring back. He tried to play it cool, of course, whatever the customer wants, but his curiosity got the better of him. He stepped forward and did something incredibly stupid. He used magic to manipulate a nearby torch flame, trying to sneak light under my hood to see my face. The light hit Lulutis. Her seal did the rest. See, Lulutis was perched on my shoulder, whispering to me about subdragon bloodlines. Normal conversation. But her seal twists everything she says into mental pollution for anyone who intercepts it. Oberto's magical snooping was basically him voluntarily sticking his brain into a blender. Black fog swallowed the firelight. Incomprehensible whispers flooded his consciousness. Cold. Silent. Alien. Impossible to understand. Like dark vines crawling through his skull. Within seconds, the man was dizzy, nauseous, and drenched in cold sweat. Don't try to peek at things beyond your comprehension. I said that with maximum edge. Full villain energy. Internally, Lulutis and I were panicking because if this escalated into a fight, we'd be completely screwed. But Oberto didn't know that. Whatever horror movie he was writing in his own head about me was clearly working in our favor. He became incredibly polite very fast. No idea what he imagined I was. Royal assassin? Dark mage? Ancient evil wearing a human suit? Didn't matter. Let him cook. Note to self. Lulutis's seal-corrupted voice is accidentally the greatest intimidation tool ever created. We need to test this on stronger targets later. I crouched in front of the subdragon girl. Silver-white hair hanging like a curtain. Through the gaps, one indigo eye staring at me with the kind of killing intent that could curdle milk. Blood on her lips. Either from the fingers she bit off that counts attendant, or her own. Maybe both. If you're planning to whip your chains around my neck and take me hostage, I suggest you reconsider. She lowered her head. hiding her eye behind more hair, trying to prevent me from reading her. If you want to bite my throat out, no need to sharpen your teeth. You chewed through a man's finger bone and flesh at the same time. At this distance, my neck would be easy. The teeth-grinding noise stopped immediately. That iron rod you keep glancing at is a decent weapon. Sharpened tip could skewer a person clean through, but if you could fight your way out in shackles, you wouldn't be merchandise right now. She leaned forward. Her hands were already creeping toward me. I'm not saying all this to mock you. I'm offering you a way out. And you're still trying to kill me. Trust me. If you try, the one who dies is you. She froze. After you're dead, I'll negotiate a few silver coins as compensation to the guy over there. Maybe 1 coin. Maybe 2. We'll haggle over your corpse, and you won't even get to argue about the price. By the way, how many silver coins do you think your life is worth? Silence. I admire your fighting spirit. That's why I'm talking to you. Believe me, I'm the most patient buyer you'll ever meet. Most customers wouldn't waste this much breath. They'd just grab your hair, squeeze your chin, admire your helplessness up close. Those rags you're wearing would only accelerate their worst ideas. They'd drag you home, throw you on a bed, and when they got bored, you'd become fertilizer for someone's garden. Some have worse hobbies. They'd bite you specifically to break you. Doesn't matter either way. You're just a slave. Die and nobody cares. Look around at all these people in chains. How many do you think will see the sun 3 days from now? Nobody cares. The girl who'd bitten off a man's finger 10 minutes ago shivered. Not from cold. From the reality settling into her bones like ice water. I don't give second chances often. I stood up. She hesitated. Then slowly, painfully, pulled herself off the ground. She raised her head. Through the silver curtain, indigo eyes watched me. Guarded, fierce, but listening. Gray scales still lingered on her hands, jawline, and forehead. Remnants of her dragon transformation that hadn't faded yet. What do you want me to do? Before that, what should I call you? Lanier, Sigrid Lanier, a full name. Properly structured, not some throwaway nickname. Whoever she was before she ended up here, she was somebody. Lu, traveler, I'm buying you. Questions can wait until we're gone. She opened her mouth. Don't refuse. This chance comes once. Believe that following me means seeing daylight again. Or, I pointed to a nearby ditch. A slave who'd lost a fighting demonstration lay in it with a broken leg, bleeding out, begging for help. A slaver kicked him in. Flies that had been feasting on the filth inside buzzed up in annoyance, then settled back down. Onto him this time. Waiting. Sigrid, who'd been fearlessly courting death all evening, who'd bitten through bone without flinching. She trembled at that sight. Sigrid, answer me. Stay here, or leave with me. She looked at the ditch, the hands weakly swatting at flies, the laughter and filth surrounding her on every side. Her lips opened, closed, opened again, closed. Finally, I'll go with you. Behind my hood, I smiled. A girl this stubborn and defiant? If I just slapped money down and dragged her out, even with a slave contract, she might kamikaze herself to take me down. The determination in those eyes was real. She needed to choose. And she chose. Wait here. I walked back to Oberto. Name your price. Oberto's ears were buzzing again. Lulutis's passive corruption was the gift that kept on giving. F14 silver coins. Too much. Too much? I don't care what you paid. I said one thing. Too much. He gritted his teeth. Then you name it. 7. 6 for her bloodline. 1 is a tip for you. I cut his price in half. Oberto wanted to scream, but then he did the math. Tonight alone, Sigrid had cost him a fortune in fines, lost him a noble client, nearly got his trading license revoked, and was actively trying to die. Every additional minute he owned her was a financial hemorrhage. Plus his ears wouldn't stop ringing, and he was pretty sure the hooded nightmare standing before him was responsible. Cut the losses. Get rid of both problems at once. He handed me the purchase agreement. I handed him 7 silver coins. It physically hurt to let those coins go. I was pretty sure I could have haggled him down to 5. After leaving the slave market, I took Sigrid on the scenic route through every open area I could find. Not for sightseeing, but to check if anyone was tailing us. Only after Lulutis confirmed we were clean did I cut onto a main road with torches and patrolling guards. Sigrid was completely silent the whole time. I said walk, she walked. I said stop, she stopped. Perfect obedience. She definitely thought about running though. But then she'd remember how Oberto, a guy who sells people for a living, was practically shaking in his boots around me. And my little speech about what happens if she tries anything. If you try, the one who dies is you, apparently made a lasting impression. What really creeped her out was me randomly muttering quiet words to nobody visible, then going silent. Talking to thin air. She couldn't figure out who, or what, I was communicating with. Her spine was doing that cold tingle thing the entire walk. Good. Fear buys compliance. Compliance buys time. Time buys trust. Found a moonlit clearing in a small grove. Perfect lighting to read the slave contract I'd prepared. The contract was written on some kind of animal hide. Yellowish-brown, stiff, not exactly luxury stationery. I don't have magic. Will the contract actually work? I asked Lulutis. The contract itself has built-in power. No magic on your end, just weakens the binding force a little, though. Whoever made this contract was really weak. Lulutis's contempt for low-grade magical items remains one of her most consistent personality traits. I brought the contract to Isekai'd. Drop your blood on it. She froze. Read the terms. Then her eyes went wide. The contract didn't say slave. It said servant. She looked up at me, stunned. What? You'd prefer to stay a slave? Look, she'd been ready to die rather than live as property. Slave or servant, neither word thrilled her. But servant is a different world from slave. Servants have status. Servants are people. Servants can eventually leave. I could see the calculation happening behind those indigo eyes. She'd been chasing death because the future was nothing but darkness. Now a crack of light had appeared, and no matter how suspicious the source, humans can't help reaching for light. She squeezed her wound. Blood dripped onto the contract. A faint red glow flickered, and I felt something, like an invisible thread stretching between us. Connection established. Now you can command her through the contract. As for how strong the binding is, figure that out yourself. Oh, and Luyu, has anyone ever told you you're a good speaker? If you hadn't given that speech at the market, she would have bolted the moment we left. You're the first person to say that about me. Should I be honored? Lulutis teased. We both chuckled. Isekai'd's face went pale watching me laugh at absolutely nothing. Her new master talks to empty air and giggles to himself. She was definitely reconsidering her life choices. I could practically see I made a terrible mistake, scrolling across her forehead. She was calculating whether she could lunge forward, grab the contract, and destroy it before I could react. Time to address the elephant in the room. Or rather, the fog ball on my shoulder. Now that the contract is signed, I can explain things. But first, stay calm about what you're about to see. I pulled my hood down and opened the robe. Isekai'd's eyes went to my face, then immediately to the ball of churning black fog sitting on my shoulder. She nearly jumped out of her skin but caught herself, remembering my warning. Short version, this isn't a monster. It's a person. Her name is Lulutis. 7th rank mage. Isekai'd's pupils contracted. Hands shaking. Breathing heavy. 7th rank. In this region, no country has one. Mages at that level spend their lives pursuing heights normal people can't comprehend. The magical secrets they hold are treasures beyond measure. The awe in her eyes was exactly what we needed. After dumping an absolute avalanche of information on her, the seal, the journey, the cover story, she sat thinking for a long time. So you're traveling to the Solon Empire, disguised as a noble traveler, and you need a servant to complete the act, not just disguise. Lulutis and I both have things to work on, so you'll handle daily affairs. Your freedom, I'll return it when this journey ends. And 2. Make the trip worthwhile for you. Lulutis is willing to teach you how to properly use your dragon bloodline. That last part hit her like a truck. Free dragon blood training from a 7th rank mage? That's not a job offer. That's a lottery win. She bowed deeply to both of us, then started to say, Luyu, before catching herself and swallowing the name. After composing herself into proper servant mode, she asked formally, Master, is it true that Lady Lulutis cannot communicate with anyone except you, Master, in a foreign accent, not Chinese? If she'd said it in some thick regional Chinese dialect, Hunan, Tianjin, Northeast, I would have immediately banned her from ever calling me that. But in this world's language? Yeah, I'll allow it. That sounded pretty good actually. Lulutis decided to demonstrate. I pulled Isekai'd close and let her listen. The seal did its thing. Isekai'd went white. Nausea hit her like a freight train. Being this close made it 10 times worse than what Oberto experienced. She couldn't hold it, turned and vomited violently. Now I understand how rough things were for you before you met me, I told Lulutis, watching Sigrid heave. Why did you keep such a dangerous artifact where it could get caught in an explosion? Couldn't you have built a basement vault? It's like, back home, I buy display cases for my figurines. Rare trading cards go in protective sleeves. You don't just leave them lying around. I don't know what figurines are, but I was being careful. That contract is one of the last surviving works of a 9th rank mage. Of course I protected it. You did experiments in your house. Your collection was one floor above your lab. One boom and everything's toast. Are you questioning the defensive measures of a 7th rank mage? Her tentacles flailed indignantly. I just looked at her, lips pressed together. Said nothing. The silence spoke volumes. If your defenses worked, why are you a fogball? Lulutis connected the dots and deflated instantly. Fine. You're right. Bad layout. Shouldn't have done it that way. When I get home, I'll definitely build a proper basement for your stuff is all blown up. What exactly are you putting in this basement? Her tentacles trembled toward me. She clearly wanted to strangle-hug me. But this was her precious partner who she needs alive, even though said partner won't stop emotionally attacking her. Teasing session over. I clapped my hands. Sigrid, you done wiping your mouth? The dizzy, vomit-covered subdragon girl snapped to attention and frantically wiped her face with the back of her hand. I tossed her my disguise robe. Put this on. We're going back into the city. You're too exposed and attracting attention. Once we're back, you shower first. Then we buy proper clothes. If we're going to act the part, we need to look the part. She wrapped herself up tight. We hit the main road. A patrol of knights rode past, stopped, compared our faces against some wanted poster they were carrying, then galloped off. Must be hunting some criminal. Not us. Today, as we walked, I asked the most important question of the evening. Sigrid, are you good with money? Currency, prices, that kind of thing? I guess so. Before I became a slave, at least I never got cheated by merchants. Perfect. That right there, not getting scammed, is the single most valuable skill I need right now. Forget dragon blood. Forget combat ability. Forget the dramatic rescue and the philosophical speech about freedom. I bought this girl because she can count change. Welcome to the team, Sigrid. Your first mission isn't slaying monsters or breaking seals. It's making sure nobody overcharges us for bread. First official team meeting. I'm calling it the Tomato Beef Stew Summit because I'm the leader and I can name things whatever I want. Agenda Item 1, Money. Sigrid dumped our coin purse onto the table. Metal clinked everywhere. For half a second, it looked impressive. Coins scattered across the surface like we were rich. We were not rich. Most of those coins were sub-copper denominations. The loose change of loose change. Financial confetti. Fun fact, the royal capital is actually cheaper than the border towns. Not a joke. The capital has actual tax officials who regulate prices. That frontier town where I bought the world's worst black bread? That was price gouging paradise because nobody was watching. Sigrid pulled out a second pouch. 1 silver coin. Our last one. The silver coins from Master's wolf friend were minted by a local lord that doesn't exist anymore. The exchange rate was nearly 3-to-1. 3 wolf coins for 1 real coin. My generous bodyguard wolf's heartfelt gift was worth a third of what I'd hoped. Thanks, medieval exchange rates. After renting this house, buying 10 days of food, and purchasing the magical materials both masters requested, our funds are empty. If we don't find income this month, we'll need to downgrade housing, and Master's noble act becomes difficult to maintain. Gold coins basically don't circulate here. Only the top nobles and royalty have those. Silver is our ceiling. And we're staring at the floor. Lulutis mentioned that above gold coins, some transactions are pure barter. Items so valuable, they transcend currency. If we could get our hands on something like that for the journey ahead. Money. Noted. This problem will be solved soon. Keep managing the budget, Sigrid. Food is priority. As for magical materials, Lulutis, stop spacing out. Talk, huh? What do you want me to say? This is your department. She'd committed to her. Lulu leads. I don't interfere. Policy with the rigidity of someone who'd carved it into stone tablets. Just tell me if what you bought is enough so Sigrid can budget properly. Probably. The basic materials for your awakening are definitely sufficient. Leftovers can make some scrolls and potion compounds. She thought for a moment. I'd like to buy materials to attempt breaking some basic seals, but those are essentially unavailable here. Unavailable because of money or unavailable because they don't exist? Both. For example, I need a Starlight Slime's magic core. In a region where the strongest mage is rank 5? Good luck. Lulutis's plan was multi-layered. First, acquire materials and rerun her experiments, analyzing reactions to find a formula that reverses her fog body condition. Second, attempt to unseal her magic power using complex compound materials or external stimulation. Both could be pursued simultaneously. Restoring her magic might fix her body, or fixing her body might restore her magic. Either path could unlock the other. The real headache was the 9th rank mage's seal, whether it could be broken at all. Even Lulutis wasn't sure. Her best hope was brute forcing it after recovering her full 7th rank power. Seeing no further input from us, Sigrid wrote finances on her notes and added her summary underneath. Practice frugality. She paused, then added another line. If both masters could please practice frugality. Agenda item 2, travel direction. I walked to the map hanging on the wall. It showed the Yas kingdom and 3 neighboring nations, plus some smaller vassal territories. Sigrid and I asked numerous adventurers in the capital. None have heard of the Solon Empire. Nobody recognizes the Mystic Light Sea, the Slago Empire, or the Silver Maple Holy Nation either. Lulutis had suspected the explosion supercharged her teleportation scroll, but she had no idea how far it sent her. Now we knew, so far that nobody on this entire side of the world had even heard of her homeland. Both Lulutis and Sigrid stared at me, hoping I had some brilliant navigation strategy. If we really can't find any leads, let's buy some dice. Lulutis's eyes lit up with academic excitement. She thought dice had some mystical function in my world. What are you planning to do with them? Has nobody in this world ever played tabletop RPGs? If it comes down to it, we roll dice to pick a direction. What did you think I meant? Sigrid wrote on her notepad. Dice, quantity 1. Number of sides TBD. Then she looked at Lulutis's many tentacles and added thoughtfully. Lady Lulutis has many hands. Perhaps purchase multiple dice. Roll simultaneously to divine the gods' hidden guidance. This girl just turned my joke into a religious practice. I don't know whether to be impressed or concerned. Agenda item 3, security. If we're staying here for a while, this house needs to be a fortress. Every direction in the courtyard gets magical alarm wards and physical noisemakers. Front door and every window gets one-time trigger trap spells underneath. But that's not enough. In case someone has anti-magic equipment, we also need mechanical traps designed for monsters. These traps get layered in sequence, linked together, and bound to Lulutis's unique magical signature, so they can't be triggered without her specific energy imprint. That's your idea of basic security? Lulutis was stunned. Back in the tree hole, she thought I was meticulous about safety. Now she realized that was the budget version. I didn't have materials, tools, or infrastructure back then. Now that I have an actual building, full deployment mode activated. Don't take a word you learned from me and throw it around wrong. I'm not being paranoid. I'm being preventive. You want Sigrid to wake up every few hours to patrol? She needs sleep. She's Whitewood rank at best. Her dragon transformation is uncontrolled and damages her body. Our combat power is basically 0. We need external defenses. Careful never killed anyone. Sigrid couldn't hear Lulutis's side, but could tell from watching us argue that the fogball thought her master was being excessive. She stepped in with a diplomatic smile. I support master's plan. Prevention is indeed wise. That's my girl. Knew I picked a winner. My smugness lasted exactly 1 second before Sigrid's pale little hand extended toward me, palm up. Master, please give me money. I need funds to purchase everything you described. Agenda item 3 circled right back to agenda item 1. Security costs money. We have no money. Meeting adjourned with 0 problems actually solved. Don't worry. Someone will bring us money. Sigrid stopped writing. Bring us money? Yes. Deliver it to our door. But to make sure they do, I need you to go take the Whitewood rank adventurer exam at the guild. When? I glanced at Lulutis. Tomorrow. Meeting over. Sigrid went upstairs to practice acting in front of a mirror. She needed to nail her role as a noble servant. Lulutis grabbed a bundle of supplies with her tentacles and led me down to the basement. About 30 square meters, 1 entrance, a table, some bookshelves, nothing else. A few hidden ventilation shafts kept the air bearable. I wondered what the previous mage owners were brewing down here that killed them. The fumes must have been intense enough to just end them. Also, do mages not believe in safety precautions? No gas masks. No protective gear? Okay, maybe those don't exist here. But surely you'd cast some defensive spells before handling deadly chemicals? No. At least do it outdoors so you don't poison yourself in a sealed room. Then I looked at Lulutis, currently a fogball because she blew up her own house, and thought, if a 7th-rank mage can self-destruct, a 1st-rank mage poisoning themselves in a basement is hardly breaking news. Lulutis dipped her tentacles in slime solution and began drawing on the floor. An intricate circular magic array took shape, complex patterns spiraling outward. Thank God the 9th-rank mage's seal doesn't distort drawn symbols. Though that raised an interesting question. Was the seal creator unable to block drawings, or did they deliberately leave this loophole? There are many awakening methods. I'm using the most basic approach, slime fluid as the medium. Slimes naturally resonate with magical energy. Their fluid lets non-magical people feel the traces of magic around them, and eventually grasp the omnipresent magical power. Thank the slimes, Lu. I gave a respectful little bow. Genuinely meant it. Slimes fed us through the darkest days in the tree hole. Now their goo was going to help me become a mage. These jiggly little guys are the unsung heroes of my entire Isekai'd experience. I wonder if you can keep a slime as a pet. Maybe I should raise one as thanks. My mind was wandering. Step into the array. I lifted one foot, then stopped. This won't explode, right? Dead silence. More silence. Are you getting in or not? Lulutis's voice could have shattered glass. If it doesn't explode, I'm absolutely getting in. I just need verbal confirmation. You have a track record, Lulutis. Your entire current situation is the result of something exploding. I stepped into the magic array. Lulutis pulled out 2 bottles from the backpack, forest slime fluid and mud slime fluid. Forest slimes absorb magic from plants and earth. Mud slimes absorb it from water and soil. Both are deeply connected to the natural world. The instructions? Drink a little, then smear the rest all over my body. Like the world's most disgusting spa treatment. Slime fluid body wrap. Very luxurious. 0 stars. She tossed me 2 slime magic cores. Hold these. They glowed faintly, magic energy slowly leaking out. Normal people like me can see concentrated magic, but can't feel the invisible magical energy flowing through everything. That's the gap between civilian and mage. Lulutis kept rummaging. Cave spider legs and silk threads. Goblin mage finger bones. She'd prepared a whole arsenal of awakening aids, determined to give me every possible advantage. She'd also mentally prepared for failure. Not everyone awakens. People with high magical affinity are basically born with mage potential. That's what talent means in this world. People with average or low affinity need an awakening ritual, and even then success isn't guaranteed. The better the ritual materials, the higher the chance, but the best stuff is either impossibly expensive or literally doesn't exist in stores. She'd made a silent promise. Even if today fails, she'll keep searching for better materials throughout our entire journey. For our deal, and for the summoner mystery that had been eating at her ever since she realized what I am. Crack. Every tentacle on Lulutis froze. Both magic cores in my hands had shattered. Magic erupted out of them like a broken dam. Wind blasted through the basement. The table slammed into the far corner. The bookshelf rattled like it was about to disintegrate. The array on the floor blazed to life. Every line, every symbol suddenly visible, burning bright. The escaped magic transformed into visible light particles floating through the air like blue fireflies. I stood in a cloud of pale blue mist, completely lost. What's happening? I looked at Lulutis with desperate eyes. She was frozen solid. Didn't respond until the mist slowly faded away. Then she floated over, placed tentacles on my forehead, my hands, my chest. Checked everything. I let her poke and prod. I just wanted to know if it worked. After a long pause, she pulled her tentacles back. Then she started circling me, muttering, "How can it be this smooth? It shouldn't be this smooth." From those mumbles, I pieced it together. I awakened. Successfully. And it went so smoothly that a 7th-rank mage was having a crisis of professional confidence. Isn't smooth a good thing? I scratched my head. Of course it is. I just didn't expect this. She hadn't even needed any of her backup materials. Spider legs? Goblin bones. Still in the bag. Completely unnecessary. I'd awakened with the bare minimum setup on my first try. You were completely calm during the process. No dizziness. No nausea from suddenly sensing ambient magic. Luyu, your talent might actually be quite good. Lulutis never exaggerates about magic. At the time, I didn't understand how heavy that statement was. I just took it as a congratulatory, nice job, with a sprinkle of hope. She taught me to gather magic energy and use it to create a small breeze. Sure, I could wave my arms really fast and achieve roughly the same result, but this was magic. The novelty was intoxicating. She said it wasn't even real magic, just basic external energy manipulation. I did not care. A child with a new toy doesn't need it to be a good toy. I crouched in the corner of the basement, guiding tiny tornadoes through the dust. When a miniature whirlwind actually formed exactly as I imagined, I couldn't help giggling like an idiot. Lulutis almost called me childish, but the words died in her throat. Something about watching me play with magic from behind reminded her of a distant afternoon, the day she discovered she was a mage. Her father was chopping wood. Her mother was washing wild vegetables. Little Lulutis, sitting on a woodpile, flicked her hand and accidentally set a patch of wild grass on fire. Her mother frantically doused the flames. Her father dropped to his knees, terrified, ready to apologize to whatever mage was playing pranks. Because in their world, apologizing was survival instinct, carved into the bones of common people. Until tiny Lulutis hopped off the woodpile and told them. That was me. She remembered her father's rough hands lifting her up, the sunken hollows around his exhausted eyes. Her mother's sudden tears. The cuts on her mother's hands from picking wild greens. What did they eat that night? Stir-fried wild vegetables, she thought. Her father had used extra salt and oil, a rare indulgence, making the bitter greens taste surprisingly wonderful. After dinner, her parents stood beside her and watched her set things on fire all evening. She lit fires. They put them out. Both sides having the time of their lives. She didn't interrupt me. She let me have my moment. Eventually, I got my fill of tiny tornadoes, dusted off my hands, and stood up. If you want more, I can teach you a simple wind element spell. Done right, it can lift tables and rocks, she offered. Nah, I'm satisfied for now. Then, would you mind if I ran an experiment? What kind of experiment? I guide you through a summoning. I stared at her. I just became a mage 5 minutes ago. I know nothing. You want me to summon something? What if it goes wrong? Summoned beings that arrive through proper contracts almost never lose control. They're bound to fulfill the summoner's request per the contract terms. But you said there's a cost. If you give no commands and just summon, the only cost is magic energy. You don't think a freshly awakened mage. Like you could accidentally summon something that drains you dry, do you? Unless you deliberately allow overpayment for greater power into the contract, you're perfectly safe. She paused, then spoke with a seriousness I'd rarely heard from her. Luyu, you're a mage now. You may become a summoner someday. Promise me. Never activate overpayment. 1100 years of summoners going insane, kidnapping babies, and summoning spider dragons echoed behind those words. I promise. We went up to ground level. Sigrid swept the perimeter for watchers. All clear. Lulutis climbed onto my head. Yes, my head, and wrapped her tentacles around my body. She'd drunk slime juice to temporarily boost her magic, giving her enough power to handle the contract portion of the summoning while I focused on visualization. I'll manage the contract. You just need to picture what you're summoning. That's all. First-time jitters hit hard. I glanced up. Lulutis's dense black fog body sat directly above me, oozing dark mist. Begin. Eyes closed. In my mind, an animal hide parchment slowly unrolled. Black text appeared and immediately caught fire. The blue smoke from the burning letters drifted around the parchment in lazy spirals. The summoning contract, exactly as Lulutis had described. Normal summoners pre-write their contracts and trigger them instantly when needed. Lulutis was handling all of that for me. When the parchment filled with burning text, her voice rang out. Imagine what it looks like when it arrives in this world. Give it form. Grant it a vessel to remain here. Make it come alive. Her rapid-fire instructions threw me into a panic. This was my first summon. It was rushed, and my mental image was a mess. I tried to add more details, but the ritual was already locking in the courtyard. Above us, a black sphere of light appeared and began expanding. Ambient magic surged toward it from every direction, pouring inside. The sphere exploded. A pitch-black portal opened in the sky. Lulutis, Isekai'd, me, all staring up. What would come through? From the darkness, a black gelatinous sphere, about 2 basketballs in size, slowly descended and plopped onto the ground. The portal vanished. Nobody moved. Total silence. The thing's surface was constantly oozing thick slime. Bubbles of mucus would rise, swell, and pop across its skin in an endless cycle. And the eyes, dozens of eyes, maybe hundreds, embedded across its entire body. Every single one filled with hatred and despair. The eyeballs rolled independently in every direction while slime dripped over them. It showed zero reaction to the fluid coating its own eyes. Tentacles extended from its body and pierced the ground. Where the slime touched the earth, freshly sprouted grass instantly turned to ASH. Request. Clear weeds from the estate grounds. Execute. Every hair on my body stood up. That voice. It wasn't one voice. It was a chorus of screaming. Thousands of shrill, agonized wails layered on top of each other, all speaking the same words simultaneously, like nails dragging across the inside of my ribcage. Isekai'd was shaking so hard her teeth chattered. It's here to pull weeds. Lulutis wrapped her tentacles around me in what might have been protective instinct or pure terror. What did you visualize? What is this thing? I forced myself to look at my firstborn summon, my precious baby, my debut creation, my opening act. As a summoner, a Lovecraftian horror globe covered in eyes and death slime that kills grass on contact and speaks in the voice of 10,000 damned souls, asking politely if it should start gardening. I think, at the very last second, I was picturing you, fresh off becoming a mage. I decided to try summoning something. You know, like a normal person. Maybe a cute little fire spirit, a helpful wind elemental, a friendly wolf buddy. Nope. I summoned what I can only describe as a nightmare meatball. This thing started as a ball covered in green eyeballs, all staring at me with pure hatred. And just when I thought, okay, this is the worst thing I've ever seen, it said, hold my beer. The eyes popped like bubbles. Then mouths appeared where the eyes used to be. Then hands started reaching out of the mouths, waving at me like, hey bestie, come here, let me hug you. Meanwhile, my brain was getting blasted with psychic screaming at full volume. 0 stars, would not recommend. This eldritch horror then tried to renegotiate our contract mid-summoning. I can give you power, it whispered in my head, all seductive-like. Thankfully, Lulutis, my slime companion, screamed, get out, with more authority than I've ever heard from a blob of goo, and I managed to croak out, contract terminated, before passing out like a guy who just ran a marathon on an empty stomach. The thing drained all my magic as a service fee. Thanks, buddy. Real professional. I woke up the next afternoon. Fully expected tentacle nightmares. Instead, I dreamed about eating tomato beef stew. The power of comfort food is real. Lulutis made me barbecue, which was surprisingly decent. Turns out having a bunch of tentacles is great for rotating skewers evenly. Too much seasoning. But hey, I'm not complaining to the Eldritch Grill Master. Then she told me what I summoned looked like something called corruption spirits, monsters that showed up 600 years ago and destroyed 4 entire countries before every species on the continent teamed up to fight them. Humans, dragons, giants, even goblins put aside their beef. That's how scary these things were. But here's the kicker. Lulutis said my summon was worse than those. Way more destructive, way more evil. Those ancient monsters were dangerous mainly because getting close to them made you go insane. My little buddy, he was the deluxe package. Cool. I accidentally dialed the Cosmic Horror Hotline and got their premium service. Then came the good news and bad news talk. After hearing both, I dropped my meat skewer, my mana pool, basically a shot glass. One summoning, and I'm empty. Can't even throw a fireball after. I'm like a mage who fires one spell then has to pull out a stick and start bonking people. Other newbie mages get maybe half a tank per fireball. I'm running on fumes after casting anything. Lulutis tried to cheer me up. But you recharge super fast. Great. I regenerate mana quickly. You know what's hard to do in a life or death fight? Take a 5-minute water break while someone's trying to scatter your ashes. She also said my body just needs time to adapt to the magical environment, like I'm some kind of houseplant that hasn't been watered enough. Then she hit me with, when I first awakened, I could only throw 2 or 3 fireballs too. So we're not that different, lady. You are a centuries-old magical being. I am a guy who got Isekai'd like 2 weeks ago. We are very different. I didn't call Lulutis out, but I definitely noticed her little lie. She told me before that on the night she became a mage, she played with fire all night long with her family. Now she's saying she could only throw 2 or 3 fireballs when she first awakened. Girl, pick a story. Either she's lying to make me feel better, or she's just one of those freaks who started with a huge mana tank and fast regeneration. Considering she became a 7th rank mage at 17, yeah, freak, sounds about right. After examining my situation carefully, I came to a depressing conclusion. Summoning is my nuclear option. I use it, I'm empty. If the enemy survives the summon, I'm standing there like an idiot holding a stick. My entire battle strategy is basically go all in and pray. But that evening, Lulutis showed me a workaround. I successfully shot a fist-sized fireball, immediately felt exhausted, but then she slapped 2 slime magic cores into my hands, and the mana flowed right back in. I was recharged and ready to go. Her solution? I'm a phone with a tiny battery, so just strap a bunch of power banks to me before every fight. She can even brew potions that speed up mana absorption. It's not elegant, but it works. I'm basically a walking charging station with combat capabilities. Once I confirmed this actually worked, I got excited. I want to try summoning again. Lulutis hesitated, but agreed, on the condition that she reviews the contract terms. Fair enough, considering last time I accidentally summoned Cthulhu's angry cousin. Then she gave me a whole lecture about summoning and the state of magic in this world, and honestly, it was kind of fascinating and kind of infuriating. Summoning has 3 steps. Set the contract terms, mentally, draw what you want, then dismiss the summon and pay up. You can skip the drawing part for a random summon. Cheaper and faster, but it's like ordering food with your eyes closed. Could be steak, could be gas station sushi. The magic community in this world is an absolute mess. Nobody shares anything. Every school of magic thinks they're right, and everyone else is garbage. Dragon School summoners think spirit summoners are stuck in the past. Spirit summoners think necromancers are creepy weirdos. Everyone argues about everything. They spent hundreds of years debating whether summoning creates a body first, then matches a soul, or summons a soul first, then gives it a body. The answer? Both work. It took them centuries to figure out something that isn't even contradictory. Incredible. The whole system runs on gatekeeping. Masters teach students, but never everything, always holding back secrets. Then they die, and the secrets die with them. Nobody wants to share because what if the student becomes better than the teacher? What if the new generation takes your spot? Better to let knowledge rot than risk losing your position. No wonder the last 9th rank mage died 600 years ago, and nobody's reached that level since. Everyone's hoarding knowledge like dragons sitting on gold, except the gold is turning to dust. Lulutis got really worked up about all this. She went way off topic, ranting about how the nations only cooperate during emergencies, how different races look down on each other, how the church worships a god that might not even exist. I'd never seen her this emotional. I realized something. She has no friends. She's 17, ridiculously talented, and completely alone. The magic world's petty politics probably crushed whatever idealism she had. Add in that princess who used her to suppress a rebellion and then apparently betrayed her. She was venting. Years of bottled-up frustration pouring out to the first person she actually trusts. I let her finish, then snapped my fingers and spun a little mana vortex on my fingertip, the party trick she taught me. You went off topic. We were talking about summoning. She took a deep breath. Sorry. Lost my composure. It's fine. You're 17. I get it. The world looks disappointing at that age. I've been young too, you know. You talk like you're ancient, she laughed. I mean, mentally, kind of am. But moving on. Since she recommended I build my own summoning experience through practice, I decided to try again. This time, no eldritch nightmares from my old world's horror catalog. I'd stick to things that exist here. Contract terms. Set. Now for the mental image. Absolutely no tentacle monsters. Nothing indescribable. Nothing that makes me question reality. A thought crossed my mind. Fine then. Let's go with a cute girl. Cattier race specifically. Mixed blood though, full-blooded ones are too furry. Purpose? Weeding. Yeah, weeding the garden. The summoning circle glowed, and there she was. Cat ears, cat tail, long legs, big sparkly eyes, adorable face, completely confused expression. Perfect. Perfect. I am a summoning genius after all. Then Lulutis wrapped a tentacle around my neck. It's for weeding. I summoned her to pull weeds. This is literally about the grass. Meanwhile, somewhere out there, a guy named Andrew Turner was riding home from fighting goblins on the border. Son of a Viscount, second-rank mage at 16, total golden boy. He crushed a dozen goblins with a boulder, and everyone was singing his praises. Life was good for him. Then his servant casually mentioned that the creepy house, where some mages died from a potion accident, finally got rented out to some traveling noble with a decent-looking servant. Andrew's face went white as a ghost. He slapped the servant, jumped back on his horse, and bolted. Apparently, he left something in that house that he really doesn't want found. That house. Yeah, that's my house. Whatever he's hiding, that's a problem for future me. Because present me had much bigger problems. After confirming that summoning a cat girl to pull weeds is the most expensive gardening method in history, I spent the evening actually learning useful magic from Lulutis. And honestly, she's an incredible teacher. She taught me to bind spells to muscle memory. Snap my fingers? Wind tornado. Point my finger like a gun? Fireball. After a few rounds of practice, I didn't even need the gestures anymore. Just instant casting. She also timed every session perfectly, stopping me right before I'd collapse. Never let me hit empty. Always pushing just hard enough. It felt like being back in school, except my teacher was a tentacle creature who couldn't stop wiggling while she lectured. When we finished, I asked her, "Do you think I have the potential to reach 4th rank? I used to throw around 5th or 6th rank, like it was nothing. But now that I actually understand how this world works, I've learned some humility." Lulutis smiled. "I think you could reach 7th rank." I laughed and told her to stop joking. She opened her mouth to tell me she was serious. Crash. Glass shattering. Upstairs. The sound echoed through the quiet night and froze both of us solid. "Probably that cracked mirror in Sigrid's room," Lulutis said. "I noticed it yesterday." I exhaled. "Okay, just a broken mirror. No big deal." Thud. Something heavy hit the floor above us. Then, footsteps. Uneven, stumbling footsteps. Heavy, then light, then heavy again. Like someone who couldn't control their own legs. Cold wind hit my back. Every hair on my body stood up. Nobody was supposed to be upstairs. Sigrid left this morning for her adventure evaluation. Lulutis and I had been in the open courtyard all evening. Nobody came in. The footsteps moved toward the staircase. A pair of hands appeared on the railing. Pale. Unnaturally pale. Sickly white. A girl walked down the stairs. White dress. Long black hair. Pretty face with absolutely zero expression. And her eyes, completely black. No pupils. No whites. Just void. She stared straight ahead for several seconds before slowly, mechanically turning her head to look at us. Like a security camera panning. Her left leg was bent wrong at the knee, so she was dragging herself forward using only her right leg. Every alarm in my brain was screaming. Then, crack, her broken leg snapped itself straight. Just like that. No hands. No help. The bone just corrected itself. And her face? Nothing. Not a flinch. Not a wince. Who does their own chiropractic adjustment without even blinking. She charged. Lulutis grabbed me with a tentacle and launched me out the front door, then threw herself at the girl to buy time. One exchange was all it took. The girl ripped through Lulutis's tentacles with raw strength, grabbed one, and slammed Lulutis into the wall like a rag doll. "Throw me a mana core," Lulutis screamed. I skipped the core across the floor like a stone on water, sliding it right past the girl and into Lulutis. Good aim under pressure. Who knew panic was great for accuracy? "Run," Lulutis yelled. "Don't worry about me, just run." This is a... She couldn't finish. The girl was already on her again, pinning her down. Lulutis switched to Chinese, my language, and screamed, "I have a way out. Just go." I ran. I ran so fast my lungs burned. I made it past the courtyard. Then I stopped. I saw a metal rod sitting on a woodpile nearby. Every rational thought in my brain said keep running. But my legs were already walking back. I grabbed the rod. When I reached the doorway, the girl had Lulutis pinned with one hand, the other fist raised high, ready to strike. Lulutis's tentacles were whipping against the girl's body, even stabbing her throat, doing absolutely nothing. Lulutis saw me and started cursing me out, calling me an idiot. My brain was running on fumes. Oxygen was optional at this point. I charged in, screaming the most eloquent battle cry of my life. Go yourself. Full baseball swing. Right to the side of her face. The hit connected beautifully. Her body tilted sideways, and her head flew off. Popped right off her neck, bounced off the wall, rolled across the floor. I stood there, metal rod in hand, staring. Am I really that strong? Lulutis grabbed me and dragged me outside before I could finish processing. I was about to ask why we were still running when I saw it. In the darkness behind us, the headless body crawled on all fours to where the head had landed. Picked it up. The girl walked outside, holding her own head in her hand like a lantern. Under the moonlight, that severed head was smiling at us. Mind telling me what exactly this thing is? I asked, staring at a girl casually holding her own severed head. Because that's a normal Tuesday in my life now, Lulutis explained while keeping her voice low. It's called a magic-breaking puppet. Basically, there are minerals in nature that cancel out magic.